Recording in
Trustee
progress.
Dupree? Here. Trustee Gaynor?
Here.
Trustee Schmidt?
Present.
Trustee Mohammed?
Here.
Trustee Basquette?
Yes.
Trustee Caraharo?
Here.
President Feaster?
Here. Trustees, you have received the agenda. Are there any changes? I repeat, are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Schmidt. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Trustee Basquette. Ms. Osinski, may I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Dupree?
Yes.
Trustee Gaynor?
Yes.
Trustee Schmidt?
Yes.
Trustee Mohammed?
Yes.
Trustee Basquette?
Yes.
Trustee Caraharo?
Yes.
President Feaster?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I would like to now introduce the non-voting member at the table, Ms. Jazz Parks, Interim Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
We are now at the public commentary section of our meeting. The board would like to remind everyone that individuals who have signed up for public commentary will have their name called and allowed to speak or have comments read by members of our staff. Commenters will have up to 4 minutes, with a total of no more than 45 minutes allowed for public commentary, period. When your name is called, please come forward and speak at the microphone. To help manage your time, a clock will be placed on the screen in front of you. As noted in Policy 1300, speakers should take into account the rules of common courtesy and refrain from making any personal attacks against employees, volunteers, students, parents, community members, or members of the board. Also, please understand that board members do not respond to public comments, but will listen carefully and will follow up as appropriate. Ms. Osinski, how many sign-ups do we have for tonight?
We have 39 signed up this evening, and each person will get 1 minute and 15 seconds. And we almost have a clock here coming up.
Thank you, Ms. Osinski.
I'll call the first name and the second name. First is Charlotte Bell, followed by Teresa Ann Nguyen. From Charlotte Bell. One moment. Okay, here we go. Charlotte Bell. I hope this financial crisis serves as a moment of reflection and redirection for the board members. The board has directly failed in not providing appropriate oversight to budget management over the past several years. So much time has been spent on petty personal infighting and virtue signaling resolutions rather than the true charge of the BOE running our schools. Please come together to focus on kids and schools. You were elected to do, as you were elected to do. Prioritize resources for children in their buildings and minimize the effect of these cuts on their education. Next, Teresa Ann Nguyen. When a $25 million deficit goes unnoticed within the district budget, leadership has failed, not students, custodians, TCs, teachers, or any building level folks. I fully appreciate that the Prop A has led to a difficult school funding system in Michigan, and the pandemic has further exacerbated fiscal responsibilities. But all other school districts have faced these same issues, and yet they're not facing a shocking and embarrassing budget shortfall. This utter failure and mismanagement of funds and resources falls squarely on the administration, and as such, I expect the administration to face the reality that they've created. Not a single teacher or building staff member should be touched before the administration headcount is right-sized and brought to bear. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I look forward to hearing your response and working together to prioritize the needs of our students and the security of their teachers. Next, Rachel Young, followed by Jay Young.
Is this thing on? Can you? Great. Come here. Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel Young. I have 3 kids in the Ann Arbor Public, well, 2 kids in the Ann Arbor Public School system. I've got a high schooler at Skyline and a middle schooler right here at STEAM. And I'll have a kindergartner starting at STEAM next year. And I am here because I want to fight for the Ann Arbor schools and the amazing programming that these educators have built over the years. In the last school board meeting, I was disturbed by some of the comments that I heard. People talked about cutting programming. There was too much programming, too much expensive programming. Maybe we could cut STEAM. I don't know what you meant by that. Maybe we could cut AP classes. Maybe we could cut IB classes. I think that would be disastrous. We should be rightfully proud of the amazing programming that the educators, many of them here in this room, have built. And we should remember that people come to Ann Arbor for those programs. If you cut the programs, you might end up losing a lot of your school of choice students, and then you'll be in an even worse budget crunch. Nobody wants to see a single teacher or building staff member touched before you bring down the district administrators. Thank you.
Jay Young, followed by Megan Sobasiensky.
Hello, I am Jay Young. I'm here today because I am concerned about the programs that I have experienced throughout the school district. If they're cut, it'd make the school system a lot worse. I look forward to my electives every day. And it wouldn't make the day nearly as fulfilling if I had to miss PLTW or art class because you cut it. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan Sobachiansky, followed by Jacob Taylor. Is Megan here? Next, Jacob Taylor. Pittsfield Elementary has been a wonderful community for my son. He has had challenges, and the school has shown a great ability to support him in ways I never expected. Losing it would be a devastating loss to who attended and the community at large. Please silence cell phones. Chris Jensen, followed by Elizabeth Seif. Chris Jensen writes, my son is a fourth grader at Pittsfield Elementary, and my wife and I are deeply concerned about how these potential budget cuts could affect his school, his classmates, and their families, as well as the teachers and staff. We moved here to Michigan from out of state, and a major factor of settling here in Ann Arbor was due to high ranking of the district's schools. We have been absolutely impressed by the teachers, staff, and facilities. Our son has not only had high quality education from full-time staff and teachers, but numerous learning opportunities through visiting instructors in Spanish, STEM, art, and others. These kinds of learning opportunities are unique to Pittsfield and Ann Arbor, and the major reason we want to stay in this community. Having come from a state that continually underfunded education, this school has been a godsend. Leave the potholes and continue to invest in our children and their amazing teachers. Elizabeth Seif, followed by Jeffrey Jenkins. Elizabeth writes, our family has been a long time in-district transfer, Our family has been a long time in-district transfer to Pittsfield Elementary for our two children, currently in 5th and 3rd grade. We continue to choose Pittsfield every year because the community, the teachers and staff, and the services. The community of PTO, administration, teachers, special services, etc., have seen our family through the best and worst over the years. My 3rd grader and our family would be devastated if Pittsfield closed, and our future families would miss out in an amazing community and school. Next, Jeffrey Jenkins, followed by Ivana Jenkins. Jeffrey Jenkins writes, Pittsfield Elementary is a pivotal hub for the entire community surrounding it, something evident to anyone who experiences it on a daily basis. Our children are learning to exist alongside one another, to expand their minds in a safe and supportive environment, all under the guidance of teachers, admins, and support staff who go so far as to quite literally remember and address every student by name through a smile every day. The resource and support systems Pittsfield Elementary provides many of our families is very real and present, and to take this away from our children because of the oversight, quote unquote, or parentheses, misconduct, question mark, of a few removed individuals is unethical. Ivana Jenkins, followed by Jessica Lear. Ivana writes, my daughter only started her APS journey this year at Pittsfield. She never attended preschool, so we were nervous, but the teachers and support staff are truly exceptional. This 5-year-old excitedly enters the building every morning to upbeat music, I might add, and all of her trusted grown-ups greet her by name. When she's having a tough day, the staff embrace her and give her hugs. She feels safe and loved, and we feel appreciated and supported as a family in this community. Her younger sister will hopefully be joining the Pittsfield Penguins next year. With so many already turning to homeschooling, I feel that another big shakeup in our community schools will obliterate enrollment numbers. People have lost trust in APS. It is vital that you find a way to recover from this deficit while minimizing the impact on our children and local community. Trust can be regained if this is handled tactfully. We are gravely disappointed and we are afraid for our children, our educators, and our community. Jessica Lair, followed by Ashley Vaduva. Jessica writes, I am a proud parent of a third grader at Pittsfield Elementary and a resident of the Pittsfield Village community that surrounds the school. We value the diversity of Pittsfield, the support for equity and inclusion, and the deep sense of community. The teachers and staff are incredible. My child has personal relationships with everyone from the janitorial staff, school social worker, and office staff to teachers across all grades. This is a team that goes above and beyond every day and makes a difference in the lives of some of our most vulnerable children. I implore the board to preserve Pittsfield as a school and to keep the teachers and support staff at Pittsfield intact as you work on incredible challenge caused by this budget shortfall. They make such a difference to the population of children that really need the support. Ashley Vaduva, followed by Timothy Vaduva.
My name is Ashley Vaduva. I'm just like a little emotional. I didn't know there were going to be so many Pittsfield families right before me. I'm the president of the PTO at Pittsfield Elementary, and I am updating the board on the letter that we sent to you with a new signature count. When I sent it yesterday, there were 281. We're up to 342 signatures on behalf of our 241 students, and we ask that you please hear us. As you try to bring families back to AAPS, use Pittsfield as your model. We are a healthy, joyful, and thriving school and community, and our children are known and daily greeted by name. Families and staff have healthy and kind relationships with one another. We are what you hope an elementary school will be. Thank you.
Thank you, Timothy Vaduva, followed by Sterling Scott. All right, Timothy writes, I have 3 students at Pittsfield, and I feel that their and other Title I students' education would be disrupted the most, as typically happens. Please be fully transparent about how this occurred and don't just point to 10 or 4 years ago for this immediate problem. Sterling Scott, followed by Jesse Kaufman. Sterling writes, hi, my name is Sterling Scott, and I'm a current 10th grader at Huron. I am planning to take a full load of IB classes at Huron High School for my junior and senior year. I just signed up last week in order to study computer game design when I leave for university. I'm taking both IB Visual Arts and IB Computer Science, and I'm also enrolled in IB German so that I can study in Germany. My German teacher is excellent and has been a good mentor. Attending universities in Europe is only possible with an IB diploma, as U.S. diplomas are not recognized as equivalent to European diplomas. Only IB diplomas are. If you cut the IB classes I will be taking are only offered at Huron in the state of Michigan. Otherwise, I would only achieve this education by living in another state, as there are only a handful of IB programs in the U.S. that offer computer science, visual arts, and German at the IB level. I hope all the hard work my teachers put in each day and the requirements it actually takes to be an IB recognized school do not go unnoticed, and that no budget cuts hinder these excellent programs. I want the same opportunity my senior sister has had in her excellent CP program to still be option for myself and friends. Jesse Kaufman, followed by Jessica Rodriguez. Jesse writes, now we know why Jenny Swift fought so hard to keep her job and why so many people were willing to rally around her. The culture of toxic positivity she created was an integral part of her fake it till you make it approach to running the district. As a series of warning signs emerged, she seems to have convinced herself that it was just one big policy decision or innovation or bond or program away from turning the whole thing around. Instead, she drove it off a cliff. But she isn't the only one responsible. The board that she was supposed to be working for manifestly failed in its duty to provide oversight, instead of simply rubber stamping everything she put in front of them. Lastly, the district's current troubles are at least partly the result of the open hostility displayed toward parents by some AAPS administrators, school board members, and the leadership of the AAEA, hostility she not only tolerated but tacitly encouraged. Jessica Rodriguez, followed by Nathan Smead. Jessica writes, "Good evening. I am a parent and a third grade teacher in the APS district. This is my 14th year teaching in the district. I'm utterly disappointed, frustrated, and quite frankly embarrassed to hear that we are, yet again, facing a huge financial setback that will fall on my shoulders and the shoulders of my colleagues. We did not create this problem, and we did not ignore the problem as it grew. That's on you. I find it hard to have sympathy for those of you in the position of having to make these difficult decisions now, because for the last 2 years you have ignored our AAEA leaders and their plea to right the financial ship. I've been here before in 2013. I was pink slipped by the district when I was pregnant with my daughter, and my family was left to wonder for several months if I would have a job that come that September. It was as stressful as you can imagine. I feel for the newest and youngest staff members that are wondering what will happen. Whatever you do, if you lay off teachers, if class sizes increase even larger than they are, if you continue to use teachers and staff publicly as the reason for your poor financial decision-making, you may never get us back. Stop blaming the 480 teachers that were hired in the last 10 years. Blame the administrators that hired them. This is not unlike what I teach my third graders every day. With power comes responsibility." Nathan Smead, followed by Sonia Lewis.
Every day after school, my kindergartner and I get in the car and I ask, "How was your day?" Without fail, she replies, "Perfect." For the next 20 minutes, I get to hear about the owl pellets she dissected with Miss Loomis, the yoga session led by Mr. Willard, and listen to her sing the Buenos Dias song taught by Ms. Gass. She laughs hysterically, retelling a joke Mr. Scott, the lunchroom supervisor, told her, details something about coding with Mr. Luxon I don't understand, and explains the new art project they are beginning with Miss Emily. The joy, the curiosity, the love my child has for learning at school is divine. At 6, my daughter doesn't know what a superintendent is. She doesn't know anything about taxes or accounting errors or what a school board does. To my daughter, AAPS is Mr. Billings, Ms. Sales, and all of her beloved teachers. I imagine that's true for most of the students across the district, and I urge you to protect the students' love of learning by protecting what makes school school, the people in their classrooms and hallways and lunchrooms every single day. I am a proud, passionate middle school teacher, and I would argue that middle school, more important than any curriculum, is learning about how to learn, how to fail, and how to accept responsibility for our mistakes. In this critical moment, I ask the Board of Education and the APS leadership to model that all-important lesson in accountability. I ask the board and leadership to act with the same humility and maturity as I would expect from my middle schoolers. They know that collaboration requires listening and questioning, not name-calling and yelling at pet projects or personal agendas.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'm urging you
That's your time.
to do your jobs as financial managers, reflect on this failure,
Sir.
and please remember our students
Thank
are
you.
watching.
That's your time.
Thank you. Next is Sonia Lewis, followed by Allie Eberts. Sonia writes, "My heart breaks for all teachers, staff, students, and families who will bear the brunt of the current financial crisis. As an APS alum and the mother of 2 recent Pioneer graduates, I have one heartfelt request. I implore you to protect APS arts and humanities programming. Visual arts and music classes were essential components of my daughter's education and were critical to my own character and development. The creative arts offer lifelines to countless students, particularly those experiencing mental health struggles and other challenges. Through the arts, students build confidence, character, cooperation, understanding, and empathy. Indeed, the arts shape our humanity. In an era which we are witnessing the precipitous rise of vitriol, violence, and disinformation, the humanities provide an anchor for students, offering them the opportunity to learn from past achievements and failures and to channel those lessons into the betterment of society. Even in the face of extreme financial hardship, we must nurture our students' academic and creative souls by ensuring the robust presence of arts and humanities programming at all levels of education." Ali Eberts, followed by Zara Sayem.
Good evening. My name is Ali Eberts, and as of April 5th, I will be a former Ann Arbor Public Schools employee. I have spent the past 10 years teaching at Huron High School, and I like to think that I can reflect on an overall fruitful career. However, none of this seems to matter to a Board of Education who is making fearless financial decisions. Over this decade, I have not seen a fair, appropriate cost of living increase, and for you to call a 2% historic raise is laughable and reflects how little you have set aside to help teachers through what has been historic inflation. And for you to lay partial blame of the current budget disaster on this mediocre raise gaslights the hardworking teachers who deserve far more and further defers this as a result of your negligence. Additionally, you have overstaffed the district and ignored the years of the AAEA and others calling this to your attention. My decision to accept employment elsewhere has been an emotionally difficult one. But after watching last week's Board of Education meeting and seeing you all place blame and argue among yourselves like children, the necessity of this decision became clear. Perhaps to you, my upcoming absence won't make that much of a difference. But it's clear to me now that to you, my presence did not make that much of a difference. However, you are soon to be responsible for 5 uncovered classes at Huron, which, thanks to the fact that we're on a hiring freeze, will go the rest of the year without full-time replacement. 3 of those classes are already without certified special education support for the district special education in-service model, meaning that students on IEPs are about to be even less supported. Your decisions are directly affecting the education students will have, and you are actively doing them a
That's your
disservice.
time. Thank you. Okay.
Zara Sayem, followed by Sarah Shea.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Zara Sam. I've been teaching in Ann Arbor schools with Ms. Schmidt and Scarlett and Forsyth for over 10 years. And I am here today to push you to go against this resolution for layoffs. We have committee members here and trustees who are on the financial committees looking over the budgets. And just to ask you again, just to think about it, all of my colleagues with me, we are evaluated with observations, looking at our students' excellence. What type of evaluation would you rate yourselves? I'm thinking probably not highly effective. If this starts at the top, you need to take that action. To put this on our shoulders is an incredibly credible slap in our face. And I've been dismayed by the press engagement and narrative that has come out pushing it, saying that it is on us. If you are going to be cutting teachers, this is not going to be helping the enrollment process. I've heard from parents time and time again saying special education needs to be heard, students need after-school care, and classes should be appropriately sized. This is not going to be helping your enrollment. This is going to be feeding into this cyclical cycle. Finally, I'd like to just remind you again, please keep the superintendent process transparent. Transparency is what we want. Listen to your workers. This is not a big surprise to all of us. Thank you very much.
Sarah Shea, followed by Daniel Crowley. Sarah writes, I'm a parent to 2 children at Mitchell Elementary. I ask that the board please keep equity at the forefront of your budget decisions and consider the long-term impacts on a Title I school like Mitchell when developing the next steps. The PTO and other sources of funding will not close the gaps at Mitchell or at other Title I schools. We don't have the playground or the same field trips or other resources that other APS schools may enjoy. Yet we do have our fearless, innovative, dedicated, bright, creative, caring, talented teachers and staff. The other thing we do have at Mitchell is the IB program. This program highlights the influence that kids that can have on the world, which can be life-changing for children who may not feel seen or valued in other spaces. The idea that we could lose this IB program that is so intertwined with the school culture and identity, or any of the absolutely necessary teachers and staff who make the Mitchell world run, is devastating. Remember that children are watching how adults respond to this crisis. Show the children at Mitchell, all of the Title I schools, and the entire AAPS community that you see them and value them. Daniel Crowley, followed by April Magar.
All right, my name is Daniel Crowley. I'm an AAPS teacher, union member, and graduate of AAPS. I went to Abbott, Forsyth, and graduated from Pioneer. I was hired just this year to teach language arts at my old middle school and took over for Jen Walsh, my old language arts teacher. I now teach in her classroom. Last fall, I listened to a speaker from HR assure new hires that we'd made it. We just joined the best district in Michigan. What a joke. This level of administrative mismanagement, abysmal efforts at transparency, and the complete absence of checks and balances in this district need to be addressed. My message to any parents and community here tonight, in spite of all this, teachers are still excited to be a part of this community. We want to work with your kids. We're excited to stay here, but know that we're not going to sit by and watch this profession be run into the ground. No more administrative decision-making that's unilateral, happening behind closed doors. No more out-of-control spending. Whether it's this February board meeting to determine the order of layoffs, which, by the way, happened a month before they went public with this financial debacle. I and dozens of other new AAPS educators entering the district look forward to working with you over the following weeks to ensure that, rather than being greeted by pink slips, we find a community that is willing to fight to make this profession livable once again. We're done being a stepping stone for the political and career aspirations of administrators.
April Magar, followed by Allison Jeter. April?
My name is April Magar. I'm an art teacher, a parent, and community member at Logan Elementary. I've served in public schools for 17 years, 7 here in Ann Arbor. I co-wrote the district curriculum for elementary art. I'm a teacher facilitator, and I provide mentorship to younger teachers. I am by all accounts a good teacher. I am also by all accounts a highly invested community member. I am not the problem. You are. The past year has been one of the most difficult of my life. In October, I became severely ill with a mysterious illness that is still not diagnosed. I got out of the hospital on a Thursday and I came to work on Monday because HR will not answer my FMLA requests. They finally decided that the physician's appointments would be covered, but not my illness, because they can't prove that I can't work. In December, we found out that we need to leave our house due to unforeseen circumstances. Since we moved here in 2016, the rent in my neighborhood has increased 50 to 100%. The average rent is 75 to 150% of my income. Can you imagine how devalued I must feel that my district does not value me enough to keep me in the community where I work and allow me to vote?
Time is up.
So the question is no longer, why should you keep me? The question is, why should I, a highly competent, highly intelligent employee, keep you?
Let's do time.
Allison Jeter. Allison Jeter, followed by Brent Bryan. Allison's subject is budget, accountability for errors, and not cutting essential positions and programs. Brent Bryan writes, hello, my name is Brent Bryan. I'm a resident in the Darlington neighborhood in which Pittsfield Elementary School is located. My first child attended Pittsfield Elementary School. My stepson is currently attending Pittsfield Elementary School. I was proud to coach my daughter's Science Olympiad team to a first place showing when she attended, a first for Pittsfield Elementary. I proudly volunteered countless movie nights and was known lovingly as that weird popcorn guy. Pittsfield Elementary is not just another school in the vast network that is the Ann Arbor Public School System. It's a bedrock for many young minds from many different socioeconomic backgrounds. It's a special place for members for our community who feel overlooked and underestimated. Pittsfield has an extremely community-oriented staff that is attentive to a wide variety of students' needs and provides them with a strong desire for learning. The staff and community are interconnected in ways that are not often seen in today's day and age. The thought of closing the school is a travesty. You would be doing a huge disservice to the children of our community and parents of our community who have grown to know Pittsfield Elementary not simply as a school, but a valuable resource for learning and growth for our children and ourselves. The connections that have been made with the staff and children at that school cannot be severed after all the challenges these students and staff and parents have already endured and overcome. Ashley Huffnagel, followed by Timothy Shea.
Hi, I'm Ashley Huffnagel. I am a project Lead the Way teacher at Carpenter, and I also have had the privilege to work at Pittsfield and Dickin. Not only am I an Ann Arbor teacher, I'm also married to an Ann Arbor teacher. We moved back to Ypsilanti, not Ann Arbor because we can't afford it, to work here. Obviously, my family's livelihood is directly affected by the actions and inactions of the AAPS board, and they need to be held accountable. So I ask all that are eligible to consider the board's negligence next time you vote, because like I said, like many Ann Arbor teachers, I can't afford to live here.
Timothy Shea, followed by Allison Riccardi. Timothy writes, "Good evening. I'm a parent of 2 APS elementary students. APS is now in a time of crisis, a crisis which was avoidable and to which much blame can and maybe at some point should be assigned. But now is not the time for finger pointing. Now is not the time for passing the buck. Now is not the time for internal arguments that monopolize multiple board meetings and then grow new wings on social media. Now is not the time for the petty politicking and infighting that has plagued this board and stagnated any process in our district for the last several years. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to do the work you were selected by this community to do. We chose you because you told us you would do what is best for our district, that you had our children and our children's best interest at heart, that you were truly an advocate for our kids. Now is the time to put away your personal differences, to sideline your future professional aspirations, and to do the job in front of you. It will not be easy and it will not be painless, but it is what you signed up to do and it is what we expect you to do. We as parents are scared and angry. Our children are scared and angry, and we are all looking to you to do the job that you asked for." Allison Riccardi, followed by Shannon Hautamaki. Allison writes, "Art and music are just as important as math, reading, science, and social studies, if not more. The award-winning music and art programs in Ann Arbor draw many parents and students here. If there are severe cuts to these programs, many parents, including myself, will be compelled to remove our students from the district and place them somewhere where music and arts are supported. Losing these programs to save money would be counterproductive, as the loss of students that would result would counter any money saved." Next is Shannon Hautamaki, followed by Melissa Lee. Shannon writes, "Regarding the budget deficit, I would like to encourage all trustees to look closely at, or even just request the administration provide to the board and public, historic and specific enrollment data to see where our missing students are. What grade levels, programs, or even neighborhoods are under-enrolled compared to previous years. Is this the loss of enrollment because childcare was removed from some but not all elementary schools, or because families are unhappy with special education services? Are families leaving because we don't have enough extracurricular or athletic opportunities for their middle and high school students? Or are families disenchanted by the heavy use of Chromebooks at the lower grade levels and removing their scholars? I don't think we have actual answers, only options. Without answering these questions, it becomes quite difficult to strategize where to make, unfortunately necessary, cuts without triggering a death spiral and leading to even further enrollment losses. So I urge extreme caution here. Ann Arbor is widely known as the most educated city in America, and many parents currently enrolled will not tolerate low standards for their families and have the means to change schools. I also urge the board to collaborate closely and cooperatively with work being done at the city and county level on the housing crisis in Washtenaw County." Melissa Lee, followed by Jordan Else. Melissa writes, "I understand the district is facing a significant financial deficit. While considering potential budget cuts, please keep the funds for APS music programs, including support from school music programs and summer camp scholarships. Music is APS's long-standing tried and tradition, and students need it." Jordan Else, followed by Lena Kaufman. Jordan writes, "Hello, Board of Education. We, Ann Arbor school parents intent on racial equity, ASPIRE, are writing to you tonight to urge you to adhere to the outlined superintendent search process, allowing for meaningful caregiver and community input into the superintendent selection. We have learned that there is a possibility you will announce the appointment of a superintendent tonight, and we wish to express our surprise and unhappiness at the lack of community involvement in this decision. This action would only reinforce perceptions of unilateral decision-making by the board, as well as exacerbate divisions within our community and potentially create challenges for the selected candidate. We urge you to reconsider this plan. We ask you to adhere to the outlined process and solicit feedback from the community on this decision. We request that you inform the community of the proposed interview questions in advance, allowing for feedback before the candidate visits scheduled for April 1st through 4th. We urge you to share these questions by this Friday, the 22nd, to facilitate community input before the candidate visits. In subsequent interview rounds, we advocate for questions that prioritize K-12 students. We would like to know how candidates plan to address longstanding issues within the special education department, safeguard the well-being of our LGBTQIA+ students, approach school discipline, support teachers and staff, close the opportunity gap for Black and Brown students, and advance racial equity initiatives. Lena Kaufman, followed by Jordan Harris. Lena writes, thank you for the opportunity to address the board. I came here tonight to advocate for adhering to the process in the superintendent search and inviting out the maximum number of candidates for interviews for a full and transparent search process with community involvement. A new leader with a fresh perspective for Ann Arbor Public Schools could give the district its best shot at reversing the downward spiral it seems to be in. Please consider your superintendent choice carefully. I also want to address the MLive story published today, where the Ann Arbor Education Association's president lays a pretty serious charge against the district and, by association, the Board of Education. Under Mr. Klein's telling of the story, the AAEA has been advocating for downsizing through attrition for a long time. I could find no public evidence of this. Indeed, in November 2021, when the district had lost more than 900 students, representing nearly $10 million in funding, Mr. Klein did an interview with media station Click on Detroit, noting instead the extreme shortage in teachers and paraprofessionals. The union also said nothing publicly about staffing levels when the board was voting to approve increasing pay last summer and in the fall, vigorously defending the former superintendent that was supposedly not listening to them about staffing and the budget. Jordan Harris, followed by Jake Engels. Jordan writes, the board needs to examine how to fix a systemic issue, not point figures or think anyone had enough time to properly research the best course of actions. Whatever is being done in the next couple of months is survival, not a lasting fix. This did not happen overnight, rather a long time coming. Suggesting land and buildings would not help balance a budget proves a lack of financial awareness. Taxes, utility costs, etc. are all coming out of general funds, even if the revenue of a sale may not fix the balance deficit with one or two moves. Stop sitting assets, paying taxes, and maintaining costs for potential future plans or poorly used things. A school district should not be looking at future expansion concerns with shrinking enrollment, a budget issue, and a capacity to spare. In a district as diverse as AAPS, it is impossible to start being knowledgeable about what is going on based on what your child, neighbor, or fifth-hand stories from the board office may lead you to believe. The board and top district administrators need to visit classroom teachers one-on-one, informally, and find out what they need in their classrooms to be successful. This is not an evaluation nor a time for judgment, simply data collection. Go to wealthy schools and Title I schools at all levels. Jake Engels, followed by Tabitha Plomaritis. Jake writes, my name is Jake Engels. I teach at Scarlett Middle School, and I am writing to urge the board to ensure that workers are empowered to make decisions not only during the management of this crisis, but also the future. From the privatization of busing to out-of-control spending, when the district makes decisions without the voices of workers, crisis follows and schools suffer. The district should seek to avoid these crises now and in the future by restoring AAEA's power to bargain and make decisions on the wide variety of topics and issues that affect our schools. Students, families, and workers deserve democracy in their schools. Tabitha Plomaritis, followed by Blake Lancaster. Tabitha writes, I'm an APS parent and I'm incredibly frustrated, angry, and sad to learn about the horrific financial oversight on the part of AAPS. It is clear that no matter what, there will be large and painful cuts to the budget. It is also clear that the AAPS admin and the BOE are not capable of appropriate oversight nor deep analysis in these matters. Therefore, I am urging you to utilize every possible resource available to you to best plan how to make these cuts with as little damage to teaching staff and students as possible. Additionally, the entire community need to hear precisely how this happened, both regarding the cumulative, gradually increasing budget problems over the years, and especially the recent very large $14 million error. Who should have caught this mistake? How did so many people miss this? Accountability is needed, and equivocations will not be accepted by this community again. Blake Lancaster, followed by Jessica Luck. All right, Jessica Luck. I have to be honest. I have written this letter many times, and those drafts were initially developed with anger and frustration. However, lashing out with accusations and demands will not fix the budget problem. My purpose in this letter is to ensure the Board of Education understands the human impact this deficit and resulting potential layoffs are having on every single individual who sits in front of you or on the Zoom screen. They are waiting to find out if they will continue to have a job, continue to have income, or whether they will be able to maintain their standard of living. For every job that is cut, there is a person, a mother, father, sister, brother, husband, wife, caretaker, friend, that is responsible for supporting not only themselves but their families, local community, and economy. These individuals choose to bring their skills to APS, and now they may be forced to leave. Given the uncertainty and subsequent emotional turmoil, not to mention the nationwide teacher shortage, I fear they won't return. Despite my own frustrations, I would like to acknowledge the efforts of Interim Superintendent Parks to address these challenges with transparency and commend the work being done to navigate through a significant deficit. It is equally important to recognize the dedication and hard work of our educators who are facing increased workloads and uncertain job security. Noah Norrell Morrell.
Hi, I'm a teacher at Huron High School, and I was going to tell you a story about a student today who voiced fear about her family's plan to leave the district in the event of layoffs. However, as you've heard here tonight from, I think, every parent who's emailed or spoken, people are already looking at leaving the district, and teacher layoffs will only worsen our existing financial crisis by decreasing enrollment. I also want to draw your attention to the false premise that seems to be accepted by many here at the board, that we need to resolve the entire budget crisis in 1 year. We do not need to leave the 5% range in 1 year. We don't need to save $25 million. We need to get out of the red. I trust that we can do this based on cuts to things besides teachers, and I urge you to amend the current resolution to exclude teachers, even if you consider layoffs for admin, which certainly could be necessary. Finally, I want to add that based on our numbers, which I understand are your numbers too, teachers, not just staffing, but teachers are flat as a cost as a percent of budget. And I'm confused as to why, given that, and given therefore the fact that in these last 5 years, where teachers have been flat, that our budget has gone into deficit, why on earth are we considering teachers as the cost to cut when clearly other things have gotten us here? Thanks.
Time is up. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, Catherine Archibald. I will read her comments. Thank you for taking the time to hear my comments, and thank you for all you do and for all your staff and teachers do to create an amazing educational experience for the 17,000 children in our schools. I have a request today for a small change that will make a big difference in the lives of Ann Arbor schools, kids, teachers, and families, and will make the Ann Arbor public school system even better than it already is. Please add mandatory daily recess of at least 30 minutes per day to our kids' schedules in middle school and high school. Recess should be outside when weather permits and only be indoors when temperature or wind chill is below freezing or it is raining. When indoors, recess should allow for physical activity in a gym or cafeteria when possible, or if not possible, for board games or free choice in a classroom. Whether inside or outside, recess should not involve looking at screens. In its policy statement entitled The Crucial Role of Recess in School, the American Academy of Pediatrics states that recess is necessary and crucial, that it has cognitive and academic benefits for children, as well as social, emotional, and physical benefits. Here's what the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, says about recess and why it is important for all kids grades K-12. And the entirety of the comments can be found in board docs. That concludes public commentary.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ozinski. We are now down to clarifications. Ms. Parks, are there any clarifications regarding comments shared tonight?
No clarifications, thank you.
Thank you. We are now down to reports of associations. I'm sorry. Trustee Gaynor?
Mike,
Green, oh, here we go. As board secretary, it's my responsibility to respond to emails. As you can imagine, we're getting a lot of them, and we welcome them. I'm doing my conscientious best to respond. As a former teacher, and I know Superintendent Parks will say this in her remarks, we need input from staff, from the community. So please keep telling us what we need to hear, as difficult as it is sometimes.
Thank you. We are now down to reports of associations.
President Feaster, my apologies. I did call during public commentary Blake Lancaster, but he left comments here, written comments. Would it be all right with the board if I go ahead and read those?
Sure.
For him?
Thank you.
My apologies, I didn't see that. Okay, so we got a minute 15, and this is from Blake Lancaster. I am requesting the board's assistance in communicating with Robin Thompson and Paul DeAngelis as I am trying to advocate for the development of a high school ski team, and I have been informed that these administrators are in charge of this decision. I have emailed them both no less than 4 times in the last month and have still not received a response. Several parents and I have been trying to advocate for the development of a ski team for the better part of 4 years. We had some interactions with Paul DeAngelis several years ago, and in fact, he told us there would be a fair and transparent process. We submitted a proposal. We were told they were going to meet about it in the summer of 22. Nothing has happened. I believe it is a reasonable request for our athletes to be able to participate in an MHSAA sport with a district like AAPS. I believe that a district of the caliber of AAPS that views itself as the gold standard for schools in Michigan should have all MHSAA sports available to its students. I recently reviewed the athletic department websites of all high schools in AAPS, and skiing is the only MHSAA sport not available in AAPS. There are also several non-MHSAA sports available in AAPS. There are a significant number of families interested in developing a ski team in AAPS, and the rest of his comments I will upload to board docs. Thank you. That concludes public commentary.
Thank you again, Ms. Ozinski. All right, trying it again. We are now at reports of associations. I believe we are at the Ann Arbor Administrator Association. Do we have something? Thank you very much.
Hello, trustees of the Ann Arbor Public Schools Board of Education. We want to take the time to first acknowledge the hard work and dedication of Quad A members throughout this school year. Our top priority as administrators is to show up daily and serve our students, staff, families, and community. Our membership has consistently fulfilled this mission despite the obstacles presented to us. Second, we would like to recognize Interim Superintendent Jazz Parks, who has steadied the district with her strategic vision, guidance, and support in the face of a myriad of challenges. Her poise and strong leadership have directly contributed to the calm
that Quad A members are feeling during a turbulent transition. We recognize that our district is experiencing a financial deficit that has and will continue to greatly impact the climate, culture, and well-being of all members of our community. The board is facing a number of concurrent challenges, and our hope is that you will be able to maintain and sustain the level of excellence we expect in our district. We look to you to make sound decisions that will help us move forward in a healthy and positive manner. Sincerely, Quad A.
Thank you very much. The next group we have is the Ann Arbor Education Association. I believe we have President Fred Klein present to report.
All right, that's better. Good evening, trustees, Ann Arbor Public Schools community, and beautiful AAEA members. I see you. Woo! My name is Fred Klein, and I'm a 34-year veteran of the Ann Arbor Public Schools, and I stand to you, in front of you tonight with my heart broken because of the financial crisis that this district has created for itself. Before I talk more about that, though, you know I like to start by highlighting some things that our fabulous members have done. So let me start there. Last spring, Tappan Science teacher and AAEA member Jonathan Paddock submitted a grant application to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for the Michigan Safe School Indoor Air Ventilation Program. Because of his efforts, Tappan received over $72,000 worth of high-quality air purifiers and 5 years of replacement filters to outfit every classroom, office, and common space in the school. Outstanding, Jonathan. Give it up. This month, 110 students from 9 Ann Arbor Public Schools competed in the Michigan League of Academic Games state tournament. Spanning 2 weeks, this competition brought together students from across the state of Michigan with over 1,000 students competing. We are very proud of our AAPS teams, with each level placing in multiple events, as well as our high school and middle school teams qualifying to attend nationals in April. I want to specifically bring your attention to 2 of our elementary teams, the Logan Thurston team and our A2 STEAM team. Why these 2? Well, because most of our A2 AG teams are coached by parent volunteers. These 2 teams are coached by 2 of our very own exceptional AAPS staff. AAEA member Tiara Jackson, I know Tiara's here tonight, who started and coaches the Logan Thurston team, and Quad A Vice Principal Brittany Sales, who helped to start and coaches the brand new A2 STEAM team. These 2 exceptional Ann Arbor staff members volunteer their time twice a week to help prepare our elementary academic gamers all year long. They also help to run games and were room coordinators during the state competition. I want to congratulate Mrs. Sales and the A2 STEAM team for bringing home 3rd place in the elementary onwards in their division, and we congratulate Tiara and the Logan Thurston combo team for bringing home the Michigan State 1st place championship in elementary onwards. Yeah. These educators I've highlighted gave their time for free to go above and beyond for the students of the Ann Arbor Public Schools. I highlighted them, but please know, I could go on and on about every member who goes above and beyond every day for the students of the Ann Arbor Public Schools, despite being an afterthought in the district's annual yearly budget cycle. I'd like to clear up some misconceptions about the Ann Arbor Public Schools and its compensation for the amazing educators that work here. There have been claims that Ann Arbor teachers are among the highest paid in the state. That is simply not true. Ann Arbor Public Schools ranks 91st in teacher pay in Michigan. 91st in a city with a median home price of over $500,000 and a cost of living that is 4% higher than the national average. And speaking of cost of living, it was mentioned earlier, teachers in Ann Arbor have not had a cost of living increase since 2006. Let that sink in. Since 2006. Despite that, Ann Arbor was ranked 10th in the state for students, but only 71st in which to work. Now, after 2 years of record increases in per pupil funding from the state, the district finds itself in a self-inflicted budget crisis. How did we get here? The district has been on a hiring spree that started in 2015. Our executive director, George Przgotsky, George is here, requested FTE data from the district, and that showed an alarming trend. Since 2015, we have gone from 1,023 teachers to 1,466 teachers. That's 443 more teachers despite having 300 fewer students than we did in 2015. The same is true for all the other employee groups. For years, George, Vice President Tamala Bell, myself, and our bargaining team have shared our concerns about this unsustainable trend. We brought it to the bargaining table, here to BOE meetings, and in one-on-one conversations with you, our trustees. We've been asking the district to right-size through retirements and resignations, and by not filling every vacancy. Had that been done, we would not be where we are today. But now, somehow, our last contract negotiation and its modest 2% raise is to blame? That is absurd and infuriating when the blame falls squarely on the district. With 2 straight years of record increases in school funding, our 2% raise is not the cause of this crisis. Remove that language from the district website. I urge you to find every efficiency in order to avoid laying off staff. Consider upcoming retirements and resignations and use that to begin right-sizing the district before laying off any Ann Arbor Public Schools teachers. Do not make staff pay the price for your mismanagement, not just for the sake of our hardworking teachers, but for the sake of our students. Lastly, I'm asking the board to not pass tonight's resolution to greenlight staff reductions until teacher voice is included in the policies. Back in 2014, right-wing policies to eliminate teacher voice from certain parts of our contract were enacted. The district chose to enforce these policies on its teaching staff over the last 10 years. These subjects were layoff and recall, placement, evaluations, and discipline and discharge. As of today, this language remains in place despite being recalled by our legislature. We demand more voice in these decisions moving forward. We ask that the BOE compel the district to work with the union to change these outdated right-wing policies and give more voice back to our teachers before beginning any layoffs. Do not pass the resolution. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. I believe, I know Trustee Carahero has a report. Ms. Osinski, are there any others before Trustee Carahero makes his report?
I'm sorry, no, I think we're good.
Okay. Trustee Carahero, please.
Well, we moved into section 4 on the agenda for board committees, so I'm going to report today, even though it's not on the agenda, about a meeting that we, Trustee Muhammad and I took place last Thursday at the WISD, which had about an hour and a half, 2-hour presentation on special education review. It was a great presentation. It was almost like a college course at a very fast pace where we learned everything about special education funding from the state all the way at how it's allocated to the WISD, how it's allocated across the county. And then we went into some breakout rooms. I went into the one about differentiating between 504s and IEPs and the rules regarding that, how families are able to do that, and who has to all be involved when those are done. But it was a very great conference, I'll call it. Special thanks to Dr. Norman and Sherry Van Adder, who led the presentation. Trustee Muhammad, anything to add?
Yeah, it was definitely very insightful, especially trying to understand special education and all the regulation around it. But what was very helpful, I was in a breakout room to talk about how do we improve the pipeline. Obviously there are shortages of special education teachers, social workers. So there are pilots throughout the state to help parapros to go into, paraprofessionals to go into special education. So it was really nice to see that.
Thank you, trustees. Also, under board committees, the executive committee had a very, very brief meeting just to add the subject matter to the agenda for tonight's meeting. And that is essentially all that we discussed. Anything else from the other trustees on that committee? Nothing. Okay. Then we are moving down to the information section, and we have our interim superintendent Parks here. Please, Ms. Parks.
Thank you. Trustee Feaster and community and staff. My information item this evening is really just to talk about the engagement process that will be coming out to our staff and community at the end of the week in our regular Friday email. We will, in that email, have updated FAQs for you. So thank you for your continued good questions. We read your emails and we take the questions that you ask and we add them right to that document so that everyone has it available to them. We are also, in that communication on Friday, going to have a link to a survey where you can provide input, and that will be for our students, our staff, our families, and the community. And we also will have dates and times of some engagement sessions that we are holding with those same folks, so students, staff, parents, and community. And we will also continue what we started post board meeting last week in our schools with students, student engagement, to hear their perspectives and their voices directly. So the district leadership team and I will continue that. Our goal is to make it to each school with that student engagement piece so that we can hear their perspective. After the engagement sessions, which will be starting the week we return from spring break, that is when we will synthesize all of the information that we gather and start to talk about what the plan might look like. So, Trustee Feaster, thank you very much for the opportunity to share that.
Thank you, Interim Superintendent Parks. We are now down to the consent agenda, trustees. Do the trustees wish to, I'm sorry.
I'll go ahead and read the
Please.
items, and trustees could remove if they like.
Thank you, Ms. Olszewski. Apologies.
It's approve the minutes of the March 13th, 2024 regular meeting and approve minutes of the March 16th, 2024 special meeting.
Thank you. Now, trustees, would you all like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Then may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by trustee Dupree, supported by trustee Schmidt. Ms. Olszewski, please.
Trustee Dupree?
Yes.
Trustee Gaynor? Trustee Schmidt?
Yes.
Trustee Mohammed?
Yes.
Trustee Basquette?
Yes.
Trustee Caraharo?
Yes.
President Feaster?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we are now down to board action, and we will excuse our interim superintendent Parks so we can have our discussion under item number A. Thank you, Ms. Parks. Ms. Olszewski, do we have anyone here via Zoom, or can we proceed without?
They may be here. I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to check, and I will get them right up on the screen as soon as I bring them over.
That's what he just said. Yeah.
I'm not seeing either person.
No problem. We will proceed without them.
But maybe they will show up. So
Right.
thank you.
You very much. Trustees, the following candidates were interviewed on March 16th, 2024. Ms. Jazz Parks, Interim Superintendent of Ann Arbor Public Schools. Dr. Bill Bradford, Chief of Schools for Fayette County Public Schools, Mr. Matthew Dunbar, Assistant Superintendent for Administration and Personnel, Glastonbury Public Schools, Dr. Antoine Reed, Deputy Chief of Equity at Rockford Public Schools, and Mr. Aurelius Brickhouse, former Chief of Schools for East Baton Rouge Parish School System. I believe we need to discuss those candidates and how we want to proceed based on the interviews we had this past Saturday. Trustee Carey, please.
Thank you. Based on the interviews that we had last Saturday, I would like to move forward on our current schedule. And finalists that I liked and would like to hear from a little further were Dr. Reed, Ms. Parks, and Dr. Bradford. The reason why I chose Dr. Bradford and Dr. Reed is because their continued experienced effort in their equity plans that they've implemented at their multiple schools and their multiple districts. That was, to me, the most compelling argument for them to make it to another round, especially considering in our conversations when we were with HYA, where that was very focused in on both our questions that we wanted, the candidate that we said we wanted to have before us when we had that first top tier, and they demonstrated to me that they were candidates of that top tier, which is why we first brought them for the first round. I'd like to continue to see them in a second round so that we can ask a little bit more pointed questions on the many things that we did not ask them about, which the community rightly reminded us about, including some more pointed special education questions, in addition to questions around their experience working with bond funds and construction in general. So for me, my position would be for us to move forward with our second round of interviews as we promised and as the schedule outlines with those two particular candidates in mind.
Thank you, Trustee Carahero. Trustee Gaynor and then Trustee Muhammad.
I agree. It's essential that we go to the second round as we've planned, that we follow our process, that we get public input, that we explore in more depth than we were able to do with the set questions on our previous round. I haven't fully decided on my endorsements. I do endorse Ms. Parks to move forward, and for, yeah, I won't go into all the reasons for that. Mr. Reed was an excellent, or Dr. Reed, I'm not sure.
Doctor, yes.
Dr. Reed, yeah, was an excellent candidate focusing on equity. If we had a chief of equity, I would snap him up in a second. I did not see the breadth of experience in other areas required as a superintendent, though I can't say he's not capable. Mr. Bradford, or Bill Bradford, sorry, I don't do titles usually, so I'm not prepared for him. I've got good answers in my notes, good answers for everything. My summary briefly was intelligent, committed, perhaps not as experienced in some areas, but I want to listen to discussion from other trustees.
And he's a doctor also.
Doctor, okay. Thank you. I don't use titles myself.
I understand.
I'm just bad.
I understand.
Yeah.
Just in case he's watching, we understand. We acknowledge.
Thank you.
All right. And we do have Mr. Winch here from HYA. Good evening, Mr. Winch. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. We are just starting to discuss the candidates.
Okay.
If you feel you should jump in and redirect us, feel free. But at this time, we're just starting to discuss the candidates.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Muhammad, I believe you were next.
Yeah, I know the next step or the next second part of the process is that the candidates who we bring forward are going to do site visits, and that's when they are going to meet with key stakeholders. And that includes parents, students, teachers, staff. So that is very crucial for us to be able to hear their feedback, and very important from a transparency standpoint. So the three that stood out, I mean, obviously Miss Jazz Parks, we're seeing her work, especially how she's handling the budget crisis, and how she's communicating and trying to communicate out to all the stakeholders. And then Dr. Bradford, I did appreciate, his strategic thinking and vision. He felt diversity is crucial, data-driven decisions. He truly is a strategist and data-focused. And then he believes, transparency is key. Dr. Reed, strong track record. We've talked about equity work. We've talked about it, during our campaigns. We talk about it now. Equity lives in everything. So it's very important to have someone that has an equity lens to everything. And I thought Dr. Reed definitely has that. But he also looked at student achievement. It wasn't just focused on, what we think, what is equity work. Really looked at student achievement, improving that, looked at disciplinary data, and then, of course, like Ms. Parks, as I said. So those are three that I thought that stood out from the ones that we interviewed. So I would move those forward.
I guess I want to ask a question while we're here discussing how we're moving forward. I'm sorry? Okay. So we're discussing the possibility of bringing in 3 candidates, which is obviously going to be an expense. We are in a place where we are in a budget crisis. So I want to know, have trustees considered bringing in these 3 candidates and additionally going to those candidates' schools for site visits if we do move forward with 2 or 3 candidates and the multiple tens of thousands of dollars that could cost the district and jobs that could be lost. And one more thing that I will say is I do understand we do have a process that we established, but that process was established before we knew we had a $25 million shortfall. So we need to consider that before we move forward, and I want to know how trustees feel about that situation. I saw Trustee Kara Harrell's hand.
Well, just a quick correction. I believe that 3 of us discussed what we thought about the candidates, and I don't believe any of the 4 of the other trustees discussed what they thought about the candidates. So before we discuss the expense of it, I'd love to hear what my colleagues think about what we actually saw and already paid for last Saturday, since we took the time to bring them in. And we're so deliberate in making sure that we had special questions and sort of special qualifications that we were looking for. So rather than talk about if we should do, I would prefer to hear what my colleagues thought about the 7 hours that we spent together on Saturday.
Trustee Dupree, please.
Okay, so who stood out for me was Mrs. Parks and Dr. Bradford. Dr. Bradford stood out because of his experience. Some of the things that he was able to do that I found personally endearing was that he volunteered in working with young Black boys in tutoring. I think that was amazing. He was also very instrumental in creating POCs. He said in 2010. He also was the DEI chief in his district, and I think he was a very strong communicator. As far as Miss Parks, we already see the work that she's done. She is embedded and connected to this community. She cares about the people who are sitting in this room. She has been doing the work since longer than we've been board members, right? So I feel like it is important that we consider that. We also consider the fact that we are in a crisis, and she's already started doing the work on the crisis. This is a reality of the situation. And yes, in talking about the money that will be spent, how much would it cost to fly somebody out and cover room and board for 2 people when we have a resolution on the table where folks' families are going to be affected by the next decisions that we make? That's just how I feel.
And for my perspective, obviously, I have enjoyed working with Interim Superintendent Parks. I think she's doing an amazing job. She discovered a $25 million shortfall that none of us knew existed. And so I think we need to give her some deference for discovering that and for being here in the district for the past 25 years and having the knowledge of the history of our district, the knowledge of the schools, why our schools are set up in the way in which they are set up, and for having the ability to go in with that scalpel and make those critical cuts needed for us to fill that shortfall rather than bringing in someone new who's going to not know all those particular details, and they will not be able to be as fine in particular with the reductions that we have to have made. But if we are going to continue, then I personally liked Superintendent Parks and Matthew Dunbar. I loved his connection to Ann Arbor, his history here in this district, the fact that he specifically mentioned our $1 billion bond and his desire to work with that bond to help make our district better. I believe he said he came through this district. I know he's coming from a small school system in Connecticut, but I personally thought that he was a strong candidate along with Ms. Parks. And I saw, before we come back to you, Trustee Gator, I think I saw Trustee Schmidt's hand go up.
No.
No? Okay. Trustee Gator then.
Just a quick comment. I don't know how this is going to play out, but even if we end up with one candidate, I want to make it clear I still want to keep the process through. If it's Ms. Parks, we don't have to pay transportation costs or housing costs, but I want to make sure that we get public input, we do the proper vetting, we do a broad look at everything and not make a precipitous decision without everybody's involvement.
I see Trustee Schmidt and then Trustee Muhammad, please.
So in this process, we hired a search firm that set up certain conduits to bring in information, whether it's focus groups or the questionnaire. When I look at the profile that the community and the staff told us they wanted, it was a person that fosters a positive professional climate of mutual trust and respect among faculty, staff, and administration. Talks about being able to recruit and employ effective personnel throughout the district and schools, to provide transparent communication, to understand and be sensitive to the needs of a diverse student population, and establish a culture of high expectations for students and personnel. As someone that has been in the field for over 40 years, it was very clear to me that Ms. Parks was head and shoulders above the other candidates. It was so clear to me. Mr. Bradford, I think, has great potential. I think as important as choosing a superintendent and looking at their characteristics, you also have to look at what is the situation in the district? What are our needs now? We don't have the freedom to bring in someone and do orientation and let them gradually learn about our district. We're in a situation where we need someone that has institutional memory, someone that has relationships. I know she knows so many of you. She is torn up by this, as I am, because I know many of you. And I know she will do right. And I know she's looking out for the kids and the staff in this district. And from my perspective, if we continue this on with candidates that, to me, are not up to snuff to what we need at this time, it's a waste of time and money. Our full focus needs to be on what is at hand here with the budget, not doing community things and these. We've already gathered the information. Now it's our job as the elected officials to have taken your input for us to watch the interviews and to make a decision that's best. So you're taken care of and our students are taken care of. So it's pretty clear to me that Jazz Parks, I believe, really is the person that's right now for this district.
Trustee Muhammad, please.
Okay, so I do believe, even though, Ms. Parks is a strong candidate, I believe that a move to just bypass the process is inappropriate. It is a disservice to really Ms. Parks because she should go through that process. And honestly, we harp on transparency, we harp about community engagement, hearing from our stakeholders. We haven't gotten that yet. We have to allow these candidates to move forward and actually come to the site visit. As far as cost, it's very minimum. It's when you look at the overall budget, it really isn't. It's not. Honestly, I think it's more important. If it's more important because we haven't had a superintendent. the last superintendent was with us for 10 years. So it's important for stakeholders to take part of the interviews, take part of providing feedback to us to make the decision before we decide on the next superintendent. So that's my thought. And if it's not 3, at least, 2 of the candidates, you know, and we can always, I think it's crucial to get feedback from our stakeholders.
Trustee Dupree, please.
So I just want to make one comment about the cost and how minimal it is. And I want to clearly state this is not like a back and forth thing. I don't mean this to be like attacking or accusatory. I'm just looking at it as a perspective, like I said last week, maybe I'm just used to being broke. But, you know, when you are struggling financially, you cut back on little things. If I decide that, okay, I have to cut back on Hulu or you know, little things like that, you start to cut back on little things. You look at what you have and you look at it and say, what can I cut away from? Honestly, this is a difficult decision that we're going to have to make, but really think about it. I don't know how to explain what it feels like to be a provider or the sole provider in some cases, because I'm sure we do have teachers who are single parents as well, and have to worry about how do you prioritize what bill you pay? How do you prioritize one expense over another? What happens if you know, all of a sudden have an auto repair that you have to pay for, or a random medical bill? I mean, a lot of us are one random medical bill or auto repair away from being check to check, just to be honest. So, again, this isn't as, you know, being accusatory or being attacking or fighting or anything, but I just had to say that because, again, I know the struggle. Maybe not this specific struggle, and I'm not going to act like I do, but that financial stress of trying to figure out how am I going to do this when something is happening that's not in my control, that I feel that, so.
I saw Trustee Carey-Harrell's hand, and then I see Trustee Muhammad's hand.
Yeah, you know, I can appreciate what you said. That has nothing to do with finding the next leader of our district, in my mind. We set out some clear values about what we were looking for. We have some candidates in front of us who have demonstrated those values with experience. And I just can't see why we wouldn't interview something that we said we were looking for, budget crisis or not. In fact, to my mind, I would orient some of the problem of our budget crisis probably has a little bit to do with our lack of an equity plan for so long, which I know that's not the first thing that we're going to talk about. And so many people throw that word around, and it's been defined so many different times. But if we say we're looking for something and we have qualified people in front of us, and then we take a position where we're going to run away from where I think we all saw some candidates who demonstrated that ability, I just think it's not very forward thinking for our district, for someone who, for something that could happen 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. We had Dr. Swift for 10 years. She was our second place candidate in that year. I'm not going to say anything terrible about her because actually a lot of folks in this room have known what happened over that 10 years, even better than I have. So for us to, in the same breath, say these expenses are very, too much for us to consider, this is like a long-term investment. It's not something that we're going to just make one decision in one meeting, abandoning the process that we decided that we could be saddled with a decision that could last us for, 15 years. So I'd like us to be a little bit more deliberate in making sure that the candidate we select is the right candidate for us after having heard many in our community. And as far as, the HYA profile that we got back, we all sat at the same meeting where we heard that the attention in those was very low. So for us to not give a chance for a candidate to come here, see our district, and have our district see that candidate, I think is a little bit of a disservice.
If I can chime in for a second. So I guess my question would be, so we're saying that we're comfortable paying the money that it might cost to bring those people in, despite the fact that I don't think anyone here did not have Ms. Parks on their list as someone who they want here for at least the final interview.
I did.
So,
I was the first who spoke, and I said 3. I said Ms. Parks, I said Dr. Bradford, and I said Dr. Reed.
Yes, what I'm saying is everyone who listed people they wanted to be a finalist listed Jazz Parks.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's pretty clear that everyone here feels strongly about Miss Parks.
No. It's pretty clear that she's passed the first round of interviews.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Trustee Dupree. Trustee Dupree.
Yeah, we can do Zoom.
I'm sorry?
There you go. There you go. I just wanted to point out.
Yeah, we can.
I have something to add. Just as a, we've never had a problem with board members or our superintendent. I recognize we're in a budget crisis. We've never had a problem with them going to national conferences.
Oh, I was about to say we're not going, but go ahead.
Yes.
That doesn't stop the fact that historically, it has never stopped administrators to travel for conferences, even board members to travel for professional development to different cities, different states, what have you. So for me, for us to take this one expense is something that's going to cripple our district, it's just not true.
I think Trustee Dupree was just about to speak on that point.
I really was. Thank you very much. So we're not saying that it would cripple the district, but it is kind of insulting to the people who have to be affected by the resolution that we're talking about later. 2, we are not going to national conferences. All spending on board development has been frozen, so we're not going anywhere. That is actually what I was about to say. And actually, I believe that some board members who were scheduled to go agreed to not go, recognizing the crisis that we're in. So I just wanted to point that out.
I'll also recognize I've never gone. I never thought it was worth the money.
Okay. Trustee Basket, then Trustee Muhammad.
Well, thank you, colleagues, for your thoughts on the candidates. And I also want to thank the community who did take the time to provide feedback to create not only the leadership profile, and to those who watched the interviews and provided their feedback. We did get community feedback. We conducted a search for a permanent superintendent under dire circumstances, which have only gotten worse. We received 20-plus resumes, and all but 2 were from candidates who have been sitting superintendents bearing the full responsibilities that come with the office. We were deliberate in reviewing those. We invited 7 candidates, and 2 did not make themselves available for a first interview. The questions, which we all had the opportunity to have input in, the questions were broad enough for the candidates to highlight their skills, especially those illustrating their resumes and including the much needed skills of doing the homework on our district, our current issues, and on us, the board. Only one convinced me that they have what it takes to lead our district right now as our permanent superintendent, and that is Ms. Parks. I have served on many recruitment teams. I've gotten paid to lead recruitment teams in my professional life. As a parent and a community member, I provided thoughts on a few superintendent searches in the past. And as a trustee, I have been part of multiple superintendent searches for this district. The process is very similar. We scan their credentials, we interview to affirm that the candidate has the skills that we desire, then we bring the candidates in to see if they're a good fit for the organization. Of the pool we received, and even the smaller pool that we interviewed, only one candidate met our immediate needs, and that is Ms. Parks. Our planned next steps were a site visit to the candidate's home district, a visit for them to our district, for them to get to know us, and for the community to meet the candidate, and of course for a final interview. However, I do not believe that proceeding to the next phase of the search will improve the skills of the candidates. They are who they are. I was very clear going into the search what I was looking for. I wanted a battle-tested superintendent who's sitting in the seat, had to make difficult decisions, who stayed in the position to lead through and also live with the ramifications of those decisions. Well, as already said, Ms. Parks is currently doing that. Why do we need to move on? Why do we need to spend more money and time and the community's efforts to continue this search? I move that we suspend the search and direct our legal counsel to initiate discussions to appoint Ms. Parks as our permanent superintendent. Thank you.
I second that motion.
Okay, that was just 1 second, Trustee Gainer. I see your hand. That was moved by Trustee Basket to suspend the search and to allow council to start negotiations with Ms. Parks. And I believe that was supported by Trustee Schmidt. And prior to Trustee Basket speaking, I had said Trustee Muhammad, but I did see your hand also, Trustee Gainer. So can we go Trustee Muhammad and then Trustee Gainer?
So I know I've heard this many times throughout the year and even the past year that we have to follow process. We are not following the process by bypassing this process. And then, you know, I know we're talking about the budget, and I understand, like, yes, I agree. Every penny matters, you know, any cost matters. But this is a huge investment, as Trustee Harrow said. This is a big decision, and whoever we hire should go through the process, even if it's Ms. Parks. It is crucial. I know we have, you know, even for me, and I'm gonna, when we talk about the resolution, I strongly believe that anything we do has to be, we have to have input and involvement with our stakeholders. And this is very true with our superintendent search. So I think it's actually a disservice for us to not follow process and bypass it. So I would, you know, not support this.
And before you go, Trustee Gainer and then Trustee Basket, I just want to reiterate, this process was started and created prior to the financial crisis that we are in. Trustee Gainer?
I would argue that there's been very little public feedback on the candidates themselves. The search firm got feedback to put a profile together. That was for their work, for what they were working for, but that was before we selected any candidates. That community feedback was not about the candidates any of the 23 candidates who applied, certainly not any of the ones that the 7 we selected. And I feel it's an important part of the process. I don't see what we have to lose to extend the time 3 weeks. I don't think Jazz Parks is going anywhere in that time. I hope not. And again, it would not be an added expense to finish the process with Ms. Parks as a finalist.
Correction to a couple of things you said, Trustee Gainer. My understanding is from my emails with Dr. Ritchie is that the stakeholders who did the surveys did specifically mention Jazz Parks multiple times throughout the surveys as someone who they wanted to see lead this district. So she was specifically listed by name by our stakeholders. Second thing is we hope Ms. Parks is not going anywhere. We don't know she's not going anywhere. We just lost Superintendent Hilton to a superintendent search in Tecumseh. And what if we lose Superintendent Parks during this 3-week time period? Who carries us forward then? I don't know that the risk is worth the reward. And so to that end, that's where I stand. Trustee Basket.
I take issue with saying that continuing with the process would be a disservice to Ms. Parks. Quite the contrary. Ms. Parks was probably the only candidate who had to prepare for us as well as dealing with us in this new crisis. I mean, that was a heck of a burden to put on anybody. But she came through, and she came through like a champ. Despite the late hours that she had been spending working on this budget crisis, she came through like a champ. It is an added burden to continue this process, and as she's already stated, she's already planning to meet with the community regarding the budget crisis during the same time as the proposed visits. How is that helping her? How is that helping the community? The community has had the opportunity, and I don't know about other trustees, but I've received a lot of feedback regarding some of these candidates. Their resumes are fully vetted, and I I can't tell you what some of the community have done in terms of researching our candidates, but people have been informed, and they have expressed a very clear interest in Ms. Parks. She is leading us through. As President Feaster mentioned, we don't know if she'll stay. In fact, we may be pushing her out by this very action tonight. We say on one hand, we appointed you as interim, we'll support you and continue to support you, and then it gets down to this point when we're not committed to appointing her a permanent position. These other candidates, let's be very honest, and I'm not going to disparage any of them because of who they are. They came to us, but they were not measuring up by any facts. I mean, look at some of the answers or lack of answers. Look at the lack of experience. Yes, Ms. Parks has not been a sitting interim, she has not been a sitting superintendent, but yes, she has. She's been doing a lot of the work that we have already expected. To bring someone in, to learn us, to learn what we want, as us learning them, that's a time-sensitive issue. To again proceed to spend money unnecessarily, as other trustees have mentioned, is a bit insensitive. And for some of my colleagues to play games on Facebook regarding how to cut the budget, that's very insensitive. Let's stop that and continue to support what interim superintendent has been doing with her team. I don't understand it, trustee. Yes, for some who now want to claim they want to follow a process, the process was finding the best candidate to serve. And we all knew at any point we could suspend the search. Right. Nationally, school boards are going with their interim superintendent. It makes very good sense given the circumstance. And if Ms. Parks was not the best, we would say that. I would say that. Most of the community knows me and how I stand on certain things. But she is the best. She knows us. She knows our dire situation. And to bring anyone up, as I've said before, it takes about a year to know us, to learn that we don't have that kind of time. Money set aside, we don't have that kind of time. And please tell me, again, how we would expect to do a site visit. Why put her through the process of a site visit? Again, she knows most of our schools probably better than most of us on the board. At least she knows where they are. Okay? So let's not interfere with the budget process and the work that she's doing, and let's just appoint, again, assuming she'll still want to stay with us, ask legal counsel to initiate a contract.
I see Trustee Dupree's hand and then Trustee Muhammad's hand.
So, the comment about the process, kind of rewinding back to that whole conversation. I know one of the things that I said was that was a poor time to change leadership given where we are in the district. We are in a crisis time. So we will be effectively doing something very similar, changing leadership at a poor time. Ms. Parks have already started doing the work. Again, like Trustee Beskett already pointed out, she'll be talking to the community about this crisis that she is currently working on while somebody else is just learning our community. We'll have somebody trying to play catch up when we already have somebody who has years upon years experience. And actually, now that you pointed out, she's actually been here longer than I've been in the district because my son's only 12. So, just really kind of thinking about that and what we need in this moment. And yes, cost aside, even though I'm still a fan of not spending any extra money if we don't have to. But cost aside, kind of looking at it from that perspective, we will be effectively doing something very similar. We'll be changing leadership in the middle of a crisis point.
Trustee Muhammad and then Trustee Schmidt.
Yeah, and I worked very closely with Ms. Parks, especially when she took on the interim superintendent role. And I 100%. So what I'm saying is not that I am not supportive of Ms. Parks. My concern, and based on who I've heard from the community, is that and of course we all have heard feedback from the community, is that it is important that we follow through and allow them opportunity to be able to meet these candidates, to be able to ask their questions. And these are things that are expected in any superintendent search. And maybe that we'll do this once, over the next 5 to 10 years. But this is a crucial decision. And I think that, you know, maybe like through this, in the end, Ms. Parks rises, but at least we know that we were transparent. We got key, you know, input from our key stakeholders, and that we actually don't look back and say, well, you know, we didn't really follow process. So this is why I worked with Ms. Parks very closely. I know she's a strong, dedicated leader. I know that she has, you know, a good heart and loves this district. But again, we have to follow the process and allow that to happen.
The one thing that I'll jump in and say is that I've always felt that when you're dealing with a crisis, the best thing you can have is the stability. And we are at a point where we need stability. And if we can get that stability and save cost, if we can even save one job, then I think it's worth keeping that stability with a great leader. Trustee Schmidt.
This would be a very different discussion if there were 3 candidates that were close. But that's not the situation, in my view. Another aspect that when I talked about, I don't know if I brought about her institutional memory, but one of the important things that we'll have to consider as we deal with the budget issue is the decisions we make, and many of you spoke of it, how will it affect enrollment? We don't want to lose people. So, you know, when I heard last week the flippant remarks about, we have too many programs, we just need to get rid of programs, I was like, and what does this person know about the programs in our district and how it brought families and how it's enriching lives? Ms. Parks has been here. She knows about the programs. She knows the ones that have been successful. That institutional memory is huge. So I have no, and I think we've been very transparent. But from my point of view, we don't have like this even Steven 3 people that we have to now figure out. To me, it's pretty clear for so many reasons. Stability, I could go down, but to me, she is the best prepared for what we need at this time. Those are my remarks. Thank you.
Trustee Carahero and then Trustee Gaynor.
Well, I'll just say I recognize the tenor of our discussion, and based on the comments that I've heard, it seems to me many have made up their mind already. And so I have a lot of disappointment, quite frankly, in the willingness for this board to see a little bit of a bigger vision than what's in front of them and to look beyond what it is immediate, certainly a crisis. And I heard other trustees talk about what if she leaves, and what if this happens, and what if that happens? And to me, that's just really establishing a culture of fear. And if you can't, at least from my perspective, is I can look beyond the crisis and hope for something a little bit better for our students, something a little bit more enriching, and quite frankly, a little bit of a change in our culture that I think everyone will admit here is a little toxic. So to me, I'm just really disappointed in our conversation. It's not a real discussion about their candidates and what they showed for us to move on, but just a real willingness to be able to go with what's in front of us. I'm just very disappointed in our discussion, that's all.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Gaynor and then Trustee Dupree.
Speaking of losing parents, I think we lose trust with the community if we don't allow them input, if we decide we know best and we don't really allow them input. I also, actually, to be honest, I favor just bringing Ms. Parks forward as a finalist. I agree, she's the strongest candidate. But I also think Ms. Parks has integrity. I think she's putting her full faith and energy into this district right now. I don't think she's applying for other jobs. I think it's insulting to even mention the possibility that she is. And if she would leave, if she wouldn't take this job, and trust me, I've asked her many times, why would you? Are you sure you're up for it? She can do that. She can do that at any time. By giving her a contract, we're not guaranteeing anything, but she has been steadfast. She knows what she's up for. I've been impressed. But I don't see the need for making this decision tonight rather than 3 weeks from tonight without full input, full exposure, full process that gives the community their chance. And I don't know, I'm sorry, Ms. Parks and I have been part of the same district for a long time, but only in very limited situations. And I'm only now beginning to know her a little better. And I am impressed, and I feel confident saying that. But there may be other people who know more things about her. I don't think anything will be exposed. I don't think there's much risk, but there's a possibility. And I just don't see why we would preclude that from happening. I don't see what we have to lose. I don't think I think we've all given her votes of confidence tonight. Yeah, the world's going to collapse any moment the way things have been going. So as a practical matter, as a good faith matter, not only with our process, but with the community, with the staff. And, Ms. Parks already has been out to the schools. She's sincere, I believe it. But again, there's part of this process and the community looking for engagement. And I am concerned what the community will think if we just say, hey, we're in charge, we're going to do it right now.
Trustee Dupree and then Trustee Basquette.
So I'm just curious, from listening to this conversation, it seems like, Trustee Feaster said, everybody has mentioned jazz, right? Ms. Parks has been missing by everyone here, right? I'm not really hearing a consensus around any other candidates, though. I think that, I'm not really hearing that. Besides, I think Dr. Reed was mentioned by Trustee Carahell. I'm not sure if Trustee Muhammad mentioned him as well.
She did.
Okay, so that's 2 people who want to talk to Dr. Reed. I said Dr. Bradford. And you said Dr. Bradford?
I sure did.
Okay, so that's only 2 of us.
No, I did too.
Okay, so we have 7 people. 7 of us all mentioned
So
Mrs.
did Trustee
Parks.
Gaynor.
Oh, you mentioned who?
No, just Jazz Parks.
I'm willing to, I said I was willing to consider other candidates. I don't think that would get us to a majority. I mentioned Dr. Bradford, but I didn't judge it. But that's not material. We don't have a majority for him, even if I did choose to do that. And I won't do it just to make my point that we should go through the process. So I think the question is, is it okay if I keep talking? I don't want to take over.
You're good to go.
I think we all agree on Ms. Parks as a finalist. The question is, do we stop everything now, or do we go through the finalist round and get that public process as part of it?
Mm-hmm. So, and I guess that's where I am, because I will admit, this being my first go with a superintendent search. So if we have all of us saying that we want Mrs. Parks to be a finalist, and only 2 or 3 of us maybe saying we want one other candidate, which doesn't equal a quorum, will we just make Mrs. Parks do a final interview? I don't understand how that would actually work, and I'm just curious if maybe HYA, somebody who's done this before, somebody could chime in and help me understand.
Well, we do have Trustee Basquette here, who's been on the board for decades. So, Trustee Basquette.
And Mrs. Parks would be my 7th, 8th superintendent, depending on how you count on it. But I want to go back to, so first of all, thank you, Trustee Dupree, for referring to me, but there is no history here, regarding this. But Ms. Parks has history with us. And so when we talk about community input and feedback, she's been an educator. She's been in the building how many years of our largest middle school. She has been leading us. She has full support from Quad A and AAEA. I've not heard any other candidate mentioned by any of them. The community has weighed in, and the community has, if there was anything in Mrs. Parks' background that this community didn't like, we would have heard it by now. Believe me. We would have heard it by now. So We are talking about putting someone who, as Trustee Dupree mentioned, we all have consensus on, putting her through the hoops of what? Every day she works with us is a final interview at any point. And Trustee, I find it very offensive to say it's an insult to say she's applying. No, you don't have to be applied to be recruited.
True.
Okay? And every day she stays with us and works with us through this crisis, again, is not only a final interview for us, but a preliminary interview for others. So let's not take her for granted. Again, assuming she'll still want to stay with us after tonight, I think we should have that discussion. Why? I mean, what would this even look like? We'd bring her forth to do a site visit of schools that she hasn't already been to. We put her through people talking again to our union leadership, our community leaders, who again, maybe she hasn't had time to talk with our outside school community leaders because she's been busy working on the budget. But she's already talked about engagements for again, she's got times and dates already planned. I'm not quite sure what we're trying to do here. For the trustees who are afraid to make a decision this crucial without having Facebook friends tell us how to do it, I'm sorry, trustees, you've got to buck up here. You will get those comments from your buddies all the time, every day. We are talking again about moving forward with a stellar candidate, the best that we have seen. I don't see how inviting anyone else in will make them a better candidate or a better fit for our district. Thank you.
There is a motion on the floor. I do see two hands, so I mean we can have Trustee Carahero and Trustee Muhammad go, but I think we need to get to the motion on the floor shortly.
I'll yield to Trustee Muhammad.
You yield? Okay, Trustee Muhammad, please.
So I just want to be clear. I don't think anyone, I mean, I didn't personally say that we would bring just Ms. Jazz Parks to the final round or the second round of the process. So I would probably recommend, as I said, Dr. Bradford, Dr. Reed, Dr. Parks, or at least, two of them. So it wasn't like, I mean, it doesn't make, for me, I'm thinking like, yes, it doesn't make sense if it's just one candidate. I mean, it's obvious, but for me, I wanted to make sure that we look at the other candidates as well. And then as far as, I think, again, I'm going to stress this again. It's very important that we do go through the process and consider, two candidates, if not three, to go through it.
And just to echo Trustee Dupree's point, only Superintendent Parks has a majority so far of people supporting them for second interviews. Trustee Carahero and then Trustee Schmidt.
Call the question.
Okay. Trustee Carahero called the question. Ms. Osinski, please. This is calling the question. Are we going to vote on the motion, I believe?
Calling the question, are we having that to be a separate motion, or am I just?
A separate motion, yes.
Okay. Trustee Carahero called the question. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Trustee Schmidt. Ms. Osinski, please.
Okay. Trustee Dupree?
No.
Trustee Gaynor?
No.
Trustee Schmidt?
Yes.
Trustee Muhammad?
Yes.
Trustee Basquette?
Yes.
Trustee Carahero?
Yes.
President Feaster?
Yes.
Motion carries. We move on to the motion to suspend the superintendent search and authorize our attorney to negotiate a contract for Jazz Parks for superintendent of schools.
Yes.
Moved by Trustee Basquette, seconded by Trustee Schmidt. Here is the vote. Trustee Dupree.
Yes.
Trustee Gaynor.
No.
Trustee Schmidt.
Yes.
Trustee Muhammad.
No.
Trustee Basquette.
Yes.
Trustee Carahero.
No.
President Feaster.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right. Given that is done, let us take a break before we move on to the board action item B. Let's take a 10-minute break. It is now 9 o'clock. Let's come back at 9:10, please.
Hot.
Okay. Oh, you're back.
Yep. Are you going
Yes. Can I get Mr. Combs to explain what happens, or someone to explain what happens if we don't approve the resolution?
You can. Miss
Okay.
can
All right.
explain.
Okay,
You
good.
can pass the resolution.
Okay.
And if you
Okay. Thank you all very much. It is 9:13 p.m. and we call the meeting back to order. We are back at board action, item B, resolution to authorize layoff of staff. If possible, could we have Attorney Comsa and Marios come to the podium and give us some explanation so we can know exactly what we're dealing with? So the question, I'm sorry, did you want to say something,
Yeah,
Trustee
I wanted-
Mohammed,
can
very
I
briefly?
say- yeah. So I just wanted to stress, so I honestly, I was kind of, I wasn't prepared, especially with having to make a decision about Ms. Parks tonight. But I did want to stress that, you know, I greatly appreciate Ms. Parks. You know, we've worked, especially when I was the board president, we worked very closely together. Huge supporter, huge advocate, and I know that you love this district. So, you know, I just wanted to clarify, my vote was primarily not to stop the process, but it is not a vote against you as the superintendent, so.
Thank you, Trustee Mohammed. Sorry, Attorney Combs, there was a question that I think some board members had and the community had, and if, Marios, I can never pronounce your last name, so I apologize. If the two of you could help to explain, what happens if we do not approve the layoffs tonight in relation to the contracts for the different bargaining units?
So some of the collective bargaining agreements have timeframes in them.
Okay.
And if notice of layoff is not met, that you can't lay those employees off. Certificated staff, you have until, I think the policy and the regulations say before the end of the school year, before the start of the other year. I think some of the discussion was to, if there are layoffs, to give as much notice as possible to employees.
Okay.
And the resolution that you have in your packet simply, should the board ratify it, delegates to the superintendent and her administrative staff the right to implement the layoffs pursuant to the collective bargaining agreements that are applicable and the board policy and regulations for certificated staff.
Okay.
And so that's the legal point of view. Financial, Marios can, if you want to address, or if there's a question for Marios.
Sorry, Trustee Carrero.
Just want a quick clarification. When you said our bargain groups, are they the same date for all the groups, or are the groups different dates?
I think they're different dates. Shantae Langford from HR knows the dates better than I do.
I'd like to know what the dates are.
Thank you. Assistant Superintendent Langford, please help clarify Trustee Carrero's question.
So as Attorney Combs has stated, there are different dates for each bargaining group. Are you asking specifically what each one?
I definitely
Okay.
am.
So ASCSA, which are our supervisors, they have a 90-day provision of notice. Paraprofessionals have a 2-week prior to the end of the school year notice. Office professionals have a 15-day prior to the end of the school year notice. And Mr. Combs had just stated that Quad A and teachers have a responsibility to know before the end of the school year. I think I covered everyone.
So just as a further clarification, just so that we're clear, I think we had some discussion last week about contractual dates being the end of March and then end of April. Can you clarify? Because those actually didn't name specific months, but actually dates prior to the end of the school year. So can I get a clarification on when we would have to make the official notification to these specific groups?
So that's the question I was just answering. So what we talked
Okay.
about last week was just dates that we would like to let staff know so
understood.
that they have some time to apply at other districts and things of that
Yeah,
nature.
thank you.
Trustee Gaynor?
Yeah, I'd like Mr. Demetrio, we had this discussion about why do the resolution now and not wait till there's engagement with the staff so we could have their input. If you could respond, please.
Thank you, Trustee Gaynor. As was mentioned, the number one reason is you want to let people know as soon as possible. But there are some procedural reasons as well. Another reason is that we received a letter from the Treasury Department, which we had to provide them with a plan how we get out of the situation we're in by March 15th. We were able to get an extension till April 15th. I don't think we'll be able to get another extension. So in order for us to provide a plan, we have to make some decisions. A third reason is that in June, early June, we need to borrow money in order for us to pay for our expenses. So in order for us to borrow money in early June, you have to work your way back because it takes some time in order to complete the process. So that decision needs to be made approximately April 17th. And I'll just say a few things about borrowing money for school districts. The school districts, when they borrow money, is tax exempt money. So the interest is lower than, but you gotta, once you borrow the money, you gotta make sure you spend all the money at some point. And you have 372 days to, that you can extend the loan only up to 372 days. So we can't just decide willy-nilly how much we can borrow. We have to be pretty exact how much money we borrow because we got to make sure we spend that money, and then we got to make sure we have enough to pay for our expenses, basically.
Okay.
I think those are the reasons.
Thank you, Mr. Demetrio.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, I see Trustee Muhammad, and I see Trustee Gaynor have questions. So Trustee Muhammad.
Yeah, so you said the plan, you said, is it April 17th or 15th?
The plan to the Department of Treasury is due on April 15th.
Okay, and you said April 17th. What is that?
April 17th is basically working our way back from early June in order to basically issue a state aid note that we will basically be borrowing money against the state aid.
Okay, and just, it's a plan but not necessarily action. Is that what, I just wanted to clarify, is it a plan for action or is it we have to take action by this date, by April 15th?
No, I have to submit, not me, the school district
Yeah.
has to submit a plan to the Department of Treasury, a financial plan, how we're going to be back over 5% in fund balance.
So if I can jump in, I think what the question is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the question is, given the 90-day notice requirement, we have certain people in our units that have to know or have notice of potential layoffs by March 30th.
That is correct.
And so this is our last meeting prior to March 30th, unless we're coming in over spring break. And so, and having our staff come in and paying them overtime and all those other things to accomplish it. So if we're going to make a decision on those bargaining units, that has to be done tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was
That's the question.
I was trying to clarify that and then the plan, because you're going to give notice and then we're going to come together and that's what I was trying to clarify, the plan.
So correct me.
For everyone to understand that.
So the plan that that Mr. Demetrio is referring to is the financial plan that's required by the state, which it will likely look different than the action plan that we are getting input from staff and families and students and community to develop over what things we will reduce in our operating budget. So they're two separate plans.
So the only thing that's on the agenda for tonight is whether or not we are approving the interim superintendent sending out the notices of potential layoffs or layoffs. The plan for who actually is going to be and what's going to actually happen is still ongoing, is my understanding. Trying to find those savings, and so it will be layoffs with the possibility of recall, depending on where we find savings and how many savings. So this is just opening the door to that discussion, if my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
No, that's correct.
Trustee Gaynor?
Yeah, I wouldn't say just. These are really important decisions, but I also understand that these notices have to be given, or else we cannot make the changes for the beginning of the contract year. There is some question about timing, and my understanding has been refined in the last 20 minutes, so I appreciate that. And I know the budget isn't the centerpiece of this, but it does form the basis of this decision. I stand accused of, I'm admitting to this, to be the trustee that puts the question out on Facebook. I heard the $25 million mark last week, and I've literally been spending day and night trying to make sense of that. And when I came up with a different figure, I asked for help. I need help figuring this. I had a chance to, I asked for and got to sit down with Ms. Parks and Mr. Demetrio today and got the data. And, based on assumptions of revenue from the state, enrollment, insurance increases, retirement costs, changes from what it's been. 25 million is conservative, which is what he has to do to protect the district. My number of 20 million was based on other assumptions that would maybe get us through next year and then rapidly aim us toward default again. But we don't have to go into all of that budget. I do think notices for layoffs are needed. The timing is questionable, but yeah, I don't think that's a big difference. We voted to negotiate with Ms. Parks for a contract. I believe she has the integrity to work with everybody to try to make the best decisions possible. I'm lyric. We're giving her a blank check, right? If we pass this resolution, whatever layoff notices she chooses to give, if we pass it as it's written, we've given her that authority, which is a really big thing. I understand. I don't know. I would love to refine that. I don't know how to. Just don't give her the authority she needs. And the question is, do we have trust in her and the staff and doing the engagement and getting the best input on behalf of staff and students?
Thank you, Trustee Gaynor. Trustee Dupree?
I have a few questions about kind of how the school year works, because I'm looking at our meeting dates and I'm thinking about the deadlines that we have to meet. And I know we have a meeting scheduled on April 3rd, which would have been the finalist interviews. But I'm wondering if we waited to April 3rd, which gives people time to talk to us, how would that affect us meeting the deadline to notify people? Because I know that the last day for students, it looks like it's June 13th, but I don't know if teachers come in after that, or how would that work?
Yeah. So you would have one group that I mentioned has a 90-day notice. That's the ASCSA. So if we're not able to give them their notices by March 30th, then we won't be able to do anything with that group. So just want to put that out there. As far as teachers and administrators go, the administrative regulation states that They have to be notified prior to the end of the school year. So you would have till, I think you just said June 13th or June 12th is the last day before school is out.
And I know this sounds crazy because I'm trying to figure out, is there a way to separate the two, right?
Yes, that's what I'm sorry. To separate
Well, because we have to give, you said the AC, I wrote this down.
ASCSA, yes.
So they need 90 days.
Yes.
But teachers could have more time than that. So is there a way to separate that so we vote on the mandatory 90-day notification and then give more times for teachers so we can actually talk to people?
So I know as far as changing the resolution, I would let Attorney Combs to talk about that. But yes, there is a way to notify people at different times.
Roger, thank you.
Could we actually have the three of you come to this podium here to speak? That would be easier for all of us to see and for you to stand. Thank you.
Trustee Muhammad.
Yeah, and I echo what Trustee Dupree said. If there's any way to, look at all the timeline and maybe make it more of a staggered approach where it's like, okay, well, the 90 days, this is what we need to approve. I would feel more comfortable with that, but again, it would have to be we would have to addend this resolution. Because I think it is important for the stakeholders and especially the teachers and staff provide input before and give you more data before making those decisions.
So, I don't know if it's possible, but Ms. Ozinski, it sounds like we are talking about.
Question.
I'm sorry. Before I ask that question, let me have Trustee Basket.
Thank you, President Feaster. I guess I don't understand how delaying this would be helpful when all of the positions are intertwined. Are they not? I mean, Ms. Langford, could you please clarify again who is part of the first group, the 90-day? I think I have it, but I'd rather you do it.
Yes, ASCSA, which are various supervisors and coordinators within the district, some rec and ed staff, some special ed staff, as well as some individuals in teaching and learning.
So again, to have a comprehensive plan, we have to be mindful of everybody who's there and say, I won't even put this out because people will think that there was a plan and it's intentional and it's not. But again, they're moving pieces and all of the players. So to take action on one set of players without understanding the roles of the other, it just seems a little disjointed. And again, Ms. Parks, you can speak for yourself, but I would think it would be harder to plan that way versus doing it as we are proposing tonight. So
it would just depend on what the ultimate set of recommendations are when we get to the plan.
Right, but this would limit you in terms of the final outcome. I guess I'm confused how this would help.
I don't think I don't think it changes her ability to do her task. It just focuses on the ASCSA on tonight's meeting, and then we would have to come back before the next deadline to give the approval for the next group or to discuss the approval for the next group. I don't think it limits her ability to send up notices.
Yeah, that's correct, because if there are staff who are a part of some of the recommendations in the action plan, then we would come back with another resolution in order to be able to actualize those recommendations.
So I guess the question is, do we want to keep coming back?
I'm willing to do it, honestly.
Trustee Muhammad and then Trustee Gaynor.
I mean, my view of this, especially because this is, dealing with people's livelihood, is for us to just I know this is one thing we cannot feel, and I know we're not rushing. I know that, Ms. Parks, you're going to have a great plan. You have a strategy. But I still feel like this is the time that we just take a step back, and especially those that within the 90 days should get, obviously we have to tell them before March 30th. But again, if it doesn't limit your ability to implement some of these decisions.
Who's Trustee Gainer's hand? I believe next. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the question, and I guess it's for Ms. Parks. If we do it piece by piece based on the required dates, does that mesh with Ms. Parks or the administration's plan to give layoffs? Is there a reason to do it in a certain logical order or political or practical order that would be a different order than these dates? But yeah, I mean, all of these considerations, that are we giving a false promise by putting off notice for 3 weeks when we're going to do it anyway? I mean, it's good politically here, but does it make a difference? These are just the questions that I'm tossing through, because I did not know that we had these variable dates until people spoke up.
So it would not necessarily alter what the ultimate recommendations of the plan might be. However, it would alter the time people have to pursue other employment. It would potentially alter the speed with which we make some of the decisions and be able to share that with our community and our staff, because we wouldn't share information about staff without informing them first and them not finding out in the public meeting, right? So it might slow down some of that component of it. But I think ultimately the recommendations we will still be able to make through the action planning process. It just would slow down a little bit the notice and people's opportunity to find additional other employment.
Trustee Muhammad, Trustee Schmidt, and then Trustee Muhammad. Yes, Trustee Schmidt, and then Trustee Muhammad.
Mr. Demetrius, what do you see as the disadvantage for us spacing it out, waiting with one group later? Tell me from your perspective, because dealing with the Department of Treasury is an issue. I mean, tell me.
Like I mentioned, we have to put a plan together, and it has to be submitted to the state by April 15th. If we wait, I'm not sure how far we can wait, because if we don't have the leeway, and we can't put a plan in and not be able to execute it.
So let me ask you about the plan.
And then,
okay,
like I mentioned also, borrowing money, which we do need to borrow money, and having to know how much we need to borrow. I don't know how I'm going to know how much I need to borrow for next year if we don't have a plan. So that's as simple as I can make it.
Yeah. So in order to do this plan, you are going to need to know how many staff would be laid off, so that you know how many of those salaries you wouldn't have to pay and what our remaining expenditure would be. You wouldn't have to know the names of the people. You just need to know X amount in this, X amount in this, so that we know where we stand in this plan. It sounds like there's another plan that gives more specifics.
Yeah, so,
if I'm wrong, correct me. I'm just trying to.
It was related to Trustee Muhammad's question a few minutes ago. There are two plans. There's the plan for the reductions, and then there's the financial plan that has to be submitted for Treasury. Our plan doesn't have to be submitted for Treasury. It's our internal plan, but Mr. Demetriou's plan is the financial plan that's required for corrective action.
But in order for him to get there, you need to do your work.
Our action plan needs to be able to have some shape.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And my only other comment would be, it's important to me. I've been pink slipped a lot of times during my career, and I want to know as soon as I can because I need to make some moves. So I'm just thinking, however we do this, our staff deserves to know as soon as possible so that they can look at other options.
Trustee Muhammad and then Trustee Harrell.
So one thing, and yeah, of course, I mean, one thing I could maybe suggest is that obviously we have a plan that has to be submitted by a financial plan by April 15th. If we can have a study session before, and I know this has been brought up before, prior to that. So obviously the 90-day, the employees that groups that we need to notify before March 30th, we would have to we can authorize that, make that decision. But for all the other groups, I would propose of having a study session and making a decision based on this financial plan and potentially some initial plan before sending out any other layoff notices. Because I want to think about, I mean, I want to hear from the community, the stakeholders. I think that's crucial. I think you're already doing that. I also want to think outside the box too. Like, are there ways where we can work together with the city, collaborate, look at kind of the lands that we have and see if that's an opportunity for us to like help with affordable housing. Like, there's so many things that we could try to do, but I know, you know, and I've talked to some of the city council members about this, but, you know, just thinking about outside the box, but I'm not sure if that's going to be something in the plan. I'm assuming it's not just people, there are going to be other things in the plan.
So in the plan by April 15th, you mean?
Well, no. Well, I mean, yeah, I know it's going to take time to think about these things. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of other alternatives, to be honest, and just being able to be clear and understanding what they are.
Yeah.
Trustee Harrell, Trustee Dupree, and then Trustee Schmidt.
Yeah, just to share a couple of thoughts. I mean, I would be in favor of amending tonight's resolution to only include that first group within the 90 days. And while I hear both sides of the argument where, of course, we want to notify employees so they can prepare for what's in front of them and the challenges that they're going to have to face, I also think it's important that the community sessions that you talked about coming up on Friday and the facts that are going to go out and all that other information, that everyone kind of has an opportunity to hear those, and we have a chance to actually here at the table to discuss our thoughts about it once we have a little bit more information. And, you know, I think the deciding factor for me, at least today, is that our AEA union president came out here and basically said that's a concern. And that's why everybody's here today to vote generally, I don't think I'm mishearing, to not approve the plan. So for me, I would be in favor of amending this to just for right now, allowing the layoffs to occur for the ASCSA group so they can be within the 90-day period. And then when we come back April 3rd, we'll be a little bit more informed about what we know. And of course, I recognize that it might give those employees who will get laid off a little bit less time to prepare for their futures. I don't think it's so less time that they wouldn't like to hear a little bit more information. I certainly would like to hear a little bit more about what the internal plan would be before just signing off on all of it. And that's just generally how I feel about it.
Trustee Dupree and then Trustee Schmidt.
I have like a bunch more questions because I'm trying to figure this out. So the mandatory 90 days, we have to do that. Would it be too specific to say for the next group we can do 60 days? Because that's like still a significant amount of time to plan. And then I'm curious because, I mean, I don't know the contract by heart. Like I read through, are they not allowed to look for jobs? Like, and again, this is just, I can't figure a perfect way to say this, but if I was sitting in the audience, we were having this conversation, I would be like, I'm about to look for a job tomorrow, period. That you know, does it mean that they cannot look for jobs if we don't do this right now?
No one's prohibited.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. They can most certainly look for jobs. I think we're just stating that people would want to know because they don't know who the who is yet. So yeah.
Roger.
Wait, please stop, please stop. Point of order.
Point of order.
Okay, point of order, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you have something, Miss?
No, I thought you
No,
called
no.
on me.
Okay. We did Trustee Dupree, and it was Trustee Schmidt. Okay. Trustee Basket, and then back to Trustee Carroll, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'm passing, just go ahead.
So I just wanted to clarify. I thought the resolution, and I'm reading it here, gives the superintendent the authority to do it, but it doesn't require her to do X number of layoffs. So whereas we could vote tonight to lay off, but we're not obligating her to lay off. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
So,
You have a question? If you mind?
Go ahead.
Trustee Dupree.
so it sounds like it would still be a bit of uncertainty. Because
Yes.
even if we did vote on it tonight, nobody would actually know until they get notified.
That's
So-
correct, because we are not going to know who's going to be impacted or affected until after we have gotten the feedback and input from everyone that we've talked about. So yeah, you're correct.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that the people who are voicing their opinions tonight are voicing their opinions largely against this completely. So it's not about a piecemeal here and a piecemeal. Completely, they are not supportive of this. It's my understanding. Trustee Carroll.
You know, I, having been a teacher myself and being part of the MEA affiliate union, I totally understand the impact that it has on teachers. And it varies amongst the groups. Generally speaking, I understand what solidarity means. And the idea that they're going to come out here and advocate for their employee group, I totally get that. I actually support that idea 100%. What I am trying to find is that nice balance between what the public and our association group is coming with us and what we've just been told that we basically have to do in order to make the adjustments that we have. And I just don't see why moving it to April 3rd would disrupt any internal plan that we had. In fact, it would give us more time to share some of that. And for us to, what I think has clearly been displayed here, not having enough time to think about some of the decisions that are coming forward. As we say, I just discovered this in 20 or 15 minutes. I just don't think that it's a wise move for us to proceed in such heavy decisions without actually having that more information. And I don't think it should impact anybody's work, you know, not to put due pressure on anybody, but April 15th is the deadline. As far as I'm concerned, April 14th is still good. So I don't see why we can't wait till April 3rd to gain a little bit more information and collect the information from the public and then come back and at least share what we do know after we've calculated some of the things that we're going to need to calculate to figure out where we're going to come up with the money. Having said that, I would motion that we amend the resolution so that we only notify that first impacted group with the idea that we would come back on April 3rd and then perhaps notify the other groups.
There's a motion on the table.
Support.
Support by Trustee Dupree. Additional discussion? Trustee Muhammad?
Just a question for Ms. Parks. Would April 3rd give you enough time to provide more information to the board, or would you need a little bit more time? I just want to make sure.
By April 3rd, we will have some information gleaned from the survey, from our groups that we're having with students, some of our parent and community groups and staff groups we will not have had by the 3rd, but we will have some information, yeah.
So is it worth, I mean, I know it's kind of tight, but is it worth to talk about this the following week instead of April 3rd or no? I mean, I'm just trying to see, because the whole point is to have some data to be able to talk about it. But I mean, if April 3rd works, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's a question for you.
Yeah, I mean, April 3rd or the following week, I think we'll have a good picture of what the priorities of our community are.
Trustee Schmidt and
Yeah.
Trustee Dupree.
I think that it's a terrible thing to have to lay anybody off. And I think what will happen is that you're kicking the can. And I'm not comfortable with watching this because I feel like this is like, well, you know, let's talk about it next week. Let's talk about it next week. When there's a real sense here from the data that we have and the 25 million that we have to make up. And since, what is it, 80% of our budget is staff. I mean, that's what we spend money on is our teachers. They're the bulwark of our operation. And this, I don't know, it seems a little gamesmanship here to say, well, we'll just put it off. I'm not following this. And I don't want anything to get in the way of you doing your work to get whatever they need at Treasury. That's, and so I'm not in favor of that. It just seems like we're just pushing it just to do it later. If the soonest we can tell anybody that has any possibility that they're not going to have a job so that they can do what they need to do, I think that's really important.
So Trustee Dupree and then Trustee Muhammad.
I can understand how it would seem that way. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't. I can definitely see that it feels like we're just pushing it off because we don't really want to do this, and I don't really want to do this. I mean, just to be honest, you know, I don't want to have to be the one that makes it so it's hard for somebody to pay a bill or, you know, cover things in their household or have to get up and move or take their kids out of the district. No, it's not something we want to do. With that being said, we have clearly heard people say that they haven't even had any input on this. So whether it's a couple of weeks, a few weeks, it's just giving folks time to at least have some say, some input on what we're doing. We have to do the 90 days. We have no choice but to do that. We have to do it. So yeah, and even then we said that that was opening a door. We didn't say that we were definitely laying people off within that 90-day period. They just said we have to notify them that there's a possibility they would be laid off. So, I mean, like I said, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not going to sit up here and dismiss it, and I know what it sounds like, but really it's, folks have just said, like, we just want to have some input, so.
And my hope is that if we end up approving this resolution or some version of this resolution, that while Mr. Demetrio and Interim Superintendent Parks make these reductions in the budget, they're able to find money elsewhere. And just because the notice went out doesn't mean we have to lose that staff member. And so I'm hoping that they are able to find money somewhere else so that we don't have to do this.
Yeah, I think, well, go ahead.
No, please, you and then
Okay.
Trustee Gainer.
I think that is my concern is, you know, when you have if you give someone notice, I mean, they're going to start looking for jobs. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm trying to like delay, I mean, I'm not, and I just want to clarify the reason why I would say like, let's have some input before making a decision. It's not at all because I don't want to make a decision. I mean, we have to make that decision. Oh no.
Hence the switch.
But it's really because I wanted, as you just said, President Feaster, I want to see what alternatives we have. I want to see, like, are there looking at, again, I'm not going to provide suggestions because then people are going to think that's the plan, but we need to look at alternatives. We need to look at input before making this crucial decision. And I understand, and I know, Ms. Parks, you're going to, you know, this is not an easy decision, and you're not going to be like handing off, you know, pink slips to random people. You know, it's going to be very thoughtful and but informed by input. But again, if I would rather wait, get the input, get the alternatives, you know, options before we hand out pink slips.
And I guess to that point, just because we have the alternatives, they're still going to have to actualize those alternatives, and it won't be done at that time period. So a number of pink slips will still have to go out while they actualize whatever plan they're creating. So it really doesn't change the situation. It just pushes back the date, is how I'm hearing it. Trustee Schmidt.
Because as I understand it,
I'm sorry.
and it's
I forgot.
It's okay.
Trustee Gainer.
Oh, sorry.
I apologize.
I can wait.
As I understand it, when you receive a pink slip, it means you could be affected. And I know it's not a perfect system, but it's the way the contract reads. So anybody that could be touched, so that there's then the whole figuring it all out part, right? But not everybody necessarily is, but that's the way contracts are put into position, so that anybody that has any chance, they let those people know.
While they work the plan.
While they work the plan, yeah.
Trustee, I'm sorry, did you have something, Assistant Superintendent
I
Langford?
just wanted to jump in to say you absolutely could do it that way.
Okay.
But the layoff notices that would go out do say you are laid off, and then here's what recall looks like. So I just wanted to be
Thank you.
clear on that.
Okay. Trustee Gaynor, again, I
While you
apologize.
have the microphone, because my understanding, or my hypothesis is that, yeah, we would give notice and many more notices than we'd have layoffs, but we're going to try to fine tune it better than massive. But I mean, we'll recall who we can. Do you have any sense of, and you probably don't, what the margin would be of layoff notices versus recalls? That's an unfair question. I'll withdraw it. I'll withdraw that. Is this picking up on my microphone?
Yes.
Okay. My turn?
Yes, yes, sir.
We only got notice of the budget shortfall going from what we thought was 6%, 19 million, to 2%, 6 million, 2 weeks ago, in the last 2 weeks. And for the public, it's less than that. That's really quick. It's really a shock. It hasn't given us time to process it and think through. In that sense, I'm worried about, I think having more time to get information to deliberate is better if it doesn't negatively affect, and it seems like the administration can handle that. The resolution, while it opens the door, gives the administration total authority. We give up our control over who gets laid off, how many. We're saying we trust you to make those decisions, and that might be what we need to do. But I don't want people to understand it any differently. So it's a real serious vote. Given the magnitude of the amount of money we need to cut, I don't want any staff to feel that there's other things that could be cut that doesn't affect frontline staff. I don't know what it would be. I don't know how much. That's not our desire, but you guys are here. You know that's the reality as well. I have talked to Ms. Parks and full faith effort to limit that. There's just a lot here, but I would support the motion to put off the full decision on this.
So one question for Ms. Ozinski. There's a motion on the floor to amend the resolution to only include the ASCSA group. Do we need to do anything on the Word document to accomplish that?
I've actually put a draft motion in to reflect the ASCSA bargaining unit only, but the resolution would need to be adjusted, and we could do that. And it looks like Ms. Langford needs to say
Can I
something.
just add one more thing? It won't impact what you're doing right now, but I neglected 2 groups.
Okay.
Just thinking, because I was asked on the spot. ASME TSP, which are our tech people.
Okay.
It's a 60-day, I believe. Don't quote me on that one. And then for all of the non-bargained, all of us, I believe it's also a 60-day in our contract, but I just need to, they're individual contracts. I just wanted to make sure that you all knew that all staff are, it could be impacted, and I didn't want to miss anyone.
That 60 days would be when?
May 1st. So, yep, April 30th, May 1st.
Okay. Trustee Basket, then Trustee Dupree.
I'm sorry, I think Trustee Dupree was first.
Trustee Dupree, and then Trustee Basket.
I just had like another question. As far as the plan that we have to submit, like how does the plan look? Could we put that staggered approach in the plan and still meet the requirements? Like if we said we're notifying, this group in 90 days, the next group in 60, because you all have contract obligations to 60 days as well. Could you write that in the plan and it still, be what we need to, satisfy the state? Or
I would think not, because it wouldn't be approved by the board. But am I incorrect?
money plan.
If we amended
Why don't we let him answer it?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know, but I would think that if we put something in the plan and we're not able to execute it or it gets denied, then I don't think it's going to look very good. I think when we submit a plan, we need to make sure that everybody's on board, everybody agrees with it, and then that we're going to go forward and execute it.
Right. So I guess that's what I was confused about, because say if the plan says by the end of the school year, we plan to lay off X amount of people, which will equal this amount and, savings and so on. But this is the way we plan on doing it. We plan to do it 90 days and 60 days. You see what I'm saying? So it's still saying that we would lay off a certain number of people. And then we've already said that the resolution is not saying that we're definitely going to lay people off. It's just kind of letting people know. All it would, and again, this is just how I'm thinking about it. What it would do is clarify that, we're doing what we have to do mandatory for this group. And then we're still giving that time for, the teachers and other groups that want to speak to us and provide their input for that next step. We're still giving that following.
So when is the decision going to be made? It's going to be if we have to submit a plan by April 15th. What I'm saying is that the decisions need to be made before April 15th.
Roger. So that would
in
be
order
like,
for us to be able to submit a plan that is a viable plan.
Roger. So that would be like that April 3rd meeting that we're talking about, right? Or would that not be?
It could be April 3rd or April 10th, but
especially
we
if
also
we're gonna
need
do the
time to
60 days.
get the financial plan together based on some of the content that we get back from our community.
So probably April 10th
yeah.
will be better than
Yeah,
April
at the
3rd.
very latest.
So that would still give the 60-day requirement. It would give folks time to provide input. It would give you enough notification that if you want to be able to look for, employment elsewhere, or prepare to relocate, or would that be enough time to do all that? Is what I'm trying
I think
to figure out.
if on April 10th we decide what the plan is, then we can submit it on April 15th. And I don't think if we decide on a plan, we should wait for 60 days or some people are, the day the school year ends.
Well, no, I wouldn't suggest that either.
So I think once we make the decision, in my opinion, then we should let people know as soon as possible.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, would that soon as possible, would April 3rd or April 10th suffice as soon as possible? Or is that still too
I think
late?
if we make the decision on April 10th, they would suffice. But the decisions need to be made, right?
Trustee Basket and Trustee Muhammad.
This is a little bit astray of this thread, if you will. But sometime this evening, Ms. Parks, if you would clarify the process of the layoffs in terms of the board does not get to decide who is laid off.
Correct.
We give authorization to you.
Correct.
You work with your staff to determine those positions.
Correct.
So could you just reemphasize that? Because again, I'm not expected to see a list and say, I want one of those, two of these, and three of those.
Right. You're right. So the board simply gives us the authorization to issue the layoffs, and then we determine based on the recommendations that we will make to get to the $25 million, we will determine what those positions are. So you're absolutely correct.
So again, we're not giving up control. We have no control. That is within your realm of work.
Correct.
Thank you.
Trustee Muhammad.
So I'm assuming whatever meeting it is, April 3rd or April, I think 10th or 11th, we would still have, I mean, you would have a plan already like kind of hopefully ready for us to look at and discuss. It's just how much time you would need, because you have to submit it by April 15th.
Do you mean the financial plan?
Yes,
or
the financial
okay,
plan.
okay.
Right, because we have to, I mean, I'm assuming we need to look at the plan, but I know it's something that you'd have to submit. So it depends on how much time you need. But I did want to stress, I mean, the point is not for us to, I mean, to be clear, and you've already clarified, it's not for us to look at a list of people and be like this and this. No, that's not in our lane, you know, so it's not in our authority, but it's just to get an idea of like, just generally like, okay, well, general numbers and where this is coming from, not necessarily specifics.
So respectfully, I have a question. I guess I'm not understanding what you're hoping to see in a plan. Like, my understanding is the plan is to reduce 25 million. What are you hoping to see? Like, we're going to take 2 million from this program and 2 million from this program and from this building. Is that what you're hoping to see?
No. So it's primarily just getting buckets. I mean, I guess, can you explain, maybe we just understand what this financial plan is? Because, I mean, because what my understanding is, it would outline at least just general areas. So how much is coming from, like, the buckets, programming? How much is coming from, I don't know, I'm just making this stuff up.
My understanding, unless you want to go, but my understanding is that the plan is going to be to reduce 25 million per superintendent's recommendation, and if they're able to actualize other savings down the road, such as by reducing a program or changing the building structure or something of that nature, that will be done at a later time. There's not going to be anything different between now and the 3rd or the 10th. It's going to still be 25 million with these notices. It's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
And just to clarify, I understand that, but I think I would want to see something a little bit more detailed. I mean, when I said programming, I'm not saying, the reason I'm saying I'm making this up is because programming is an area that keeps coming up, but that does not mean that that's what we're cutting. So I just wanted to make that clear. So that's just an example. But just trying to figure out, like, just so that I can feel, you know, just to have that information to see, like, where is this money going to be cut, that 25 million?
Correct me if I'm wrong. It's not going to change the request.
Correct. And we may not, by April 3rd, we may not know entirely
That's what I'm
where it's going to come from.
Okay.
So it's going to be the same, basically?
The amount will be the same.
Will be the
yeah.
same. Okay.
The amount will be the same.
So the same number of notices will likely have to go out regardless.
Well, so whatever that number is, which we don't know.
Right, but that's not changing. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. So the goal will be to get to the 25 million. Right. I don't know how many notices will be required to get to that 25 million.
And that will be the same today, the 3rd, or the 10th?
Correct.
So you
Trustee Dupree?
So you won't actually, so we have to send out notifications because we have to by 90 days for one group, but you won't actually know how many people are going to be laid off or affected by this until when?
Until we have the full set of recommendations that get to the $25 million. And so until we have the specifics of what those recommendations will entail, which we will determine based on the feedback and input that we get from our community.
And the full set of recommendations won't be available until after the deadline we have to meet for the state?
So that is actually to be determined based on whatever you all determine.
Really?
I think I saw Trustee Gainer's hand, and then back to Trustee Muhammad.
We were discussing my uninformed 20 million versus Mr. Demetrios' 25 million, and you showed us, a couple of us, a spreadsheet Would that be something you could present at a board meeting so everybody understands the numbers at some
Sure,
point?
definitely.
Yes.
I would definitely think that would be helpful.
Because I think that is the question that our staff has is, can this be done slower? And if so, why or why not? And so to show them what you've shown some of us might help to make it make more sense for everybody.
Definitely. I would be more than glad to show it
Okay.
whenever the board is ready to see it.
Trustee Carroll?
I'd like to call a question on the motion to amend.
All right. There was support by Trustee Dupree. I'm sorry. Well, you're calling the question on just calling the question, so we gotta do that first, and then. No. Okay. There's support for calling the question.
Yeah.
Trustee Gainer supported calling the question. So then, Ms. Osinski, please.
Trustee Dupree?
Yes.
Trustee Gainer?
Yes.
Trustee Schmidt?
No.
Trustee Mohammed?
Yes.
Trustee Basquette?
Yes.
Trustee Caraharo?
Yes.
President Feaster?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
So the question is, the Ann Arbor Public Schools Board of Education authorizes and delegates power to the superintendent and, as deemed appropriate by the superintendent, district administration, to send notice of layoff to those in the ASCSA bargaining unit in accordance with board policies and administrative regulations, including Board Policy 4830 and Administrative Regulation 4830.R.01, and relevant provisions of the collective bargaining agreement in order to address the budget shortfall that was moved by Trustee Caraharo and supported by Trustee Dupree.
Correct.
Ready to vote.
Dupree is the person who supported Trustee Caraharo motion originally.
Right.
Trustee Dupree.
Yes.
Trustee Gainer.
Sorry, was there
Yeah,
a discussion?
Okay, I thought we already voted on
No, that was the call.
it. Yes.
Trustee Schmidt.
Call the question.
No.
Wait.
I'm sorry.
Correction. I believe we called the question on the amendment to the motion, but we still have continued discussion on the actual amendment unless we are stating we're stopping discussion.
Oh,
Right.
sorry
about that.
Okay. Thank you for the point of clarification, Trustee Caraharo.
We called the question on the motion to amend. We did not call to question quite on the motion to approve.
Okay, misunderstood. I apologize. Okay, so more discussion
the
then.
only motion I have on the table is that amended motion.
I understand. We're still at
So, in my opinion, we are now voting on that motion if you called the question.
Why?
Right,
No,
right.
okay.
Hold on, bring our parliamentarian in on this.
No, I think there should be an opportunity to have the discussion once we have decided to move forward.
Okay,
Again, to have the discussion, if there is discussion,
okay.
okay, because people need to, or should have the opportunity to state where they're voting on the resolution.
Based on our parliamentarian's opinion and Trustee Caraharo who offered the motion, I think we should have continued discussion. So what additional discussion might we have?
So I'll go first, if
Trustee
I may.
Basquette, please.
Well, thank you. I am thinking there is too much confusion about this. Trustees, we get the information on board docs in advance of the meeting. And if we had the suggestions or questions, we should have posed them before tonight. So I think that's part of the problem, or challenge, I guess I should say. I am concerned by the confusion of really what we're trying to accomplish besides a delay of layoffs, but we have acknowledged that staff will have to be laid off. I am concerned about putting pressure on the staff, giving the staff fewer days to work on this. I mean, we know spring break is next week, but I am sure that the staff will be working on this as required. It is not easy to put together anything for the state or any municipal body, having gone through that. So I don't know all the steps that Mr. Demetria has to take, but again, I want to be cognizant of the fact he probably needs more days than we are thinking. So I will not be supporting the motion. Not that I don't love our staff and don't want to acknowledge the dire needs, but we are going to have to lay off staff. And so I would rather give the superintendent administration that permission, that authorization to do as it deems appropriate. Thank you.
Given the fact that I just said that I believe Superintendent Parks can do this with a scalpel and she can do it thoroughly, and I have faith in her, it would be inappropriate for me to now say that I want to not give her the power to do that. So I guess I am being consistent. I believe she has the best interest of our staff at heart. I believe she knows what they need, and I believe she will do what is best for the district. And so I guess I'm supporting her, giving her that power to move forward. And so I guess that's where I land on it. Trustee Schmidt.
I also know that she has already shared with us this evening how she intends to incorporate input. I know you've already started going to schools this week. You'll continue to meet with administrators and staff and bring in the suggestions through the, it's a survey tool and the meetings that you're going to have that are in the public. I think we need to get started on the process, and the more time you have, I'm hoping the better the product.
And I'm good. And just following up, just to be absolutely clear to what Trustee Muhammad was asking, we're still going to be dealing with the same 25 million, whether we deal with it today, next week, or in the future.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Superintendent.
Correct. To clarify, it's the 25 million is the 25 million. We have never said that all of that we want to be in staff. So the answer to your question is yes, the 25 million is the 25 million. I don't know how much of that 25 million will be positions.
And that's not going to change between.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Trustee Muhammad.
And just to clarify, I know I kept saying plan, but I think what would be helpful is for us to hear recommendations. I think that's what I meant, is recommendations coming from you, Ms. Parks, versus, and not specifics. Obviously, you're not going to give us you have to be very sensitive on how you make those recommendations, but how to deliver it in a way where it's not, is general enough, but not too specific. And we can talk. I mean, I think recommendations would help. I know I keep saying plan, but.
Okay.
Trustee Carrero.
Just want to make a clarification. Is there a motion on the floor to adopt the amended resolution, excuse me?
According to Ms. Osinski, that is the only motion on the floor, to accept your amended motion to only allow layoff notices for ASCSA unit.
Thank you.
And that was supported by Trustee Dupree.
Thank you. I'd like to call the question.
No.
Okay. Is there support for calling the question? Trustee Muhammad?
A support.
Okay. All right. Then Ms. Osinski, please.
And we're voting on calling the question again. This is kind of
Apparently.
interesting.
Calling the question, yes, which ends discussion on the motion on the table for the amended motion, the amended
Is there any
motion.
discussion for a call to question?
No.
No. If you just ask for us to say why we support it or we don't, to call the question in the middle of that, it doesn't really give everybody the opportunity to speak, but we can go ahead.
Trustee Dupree?
No.
Trustee Gaynor?
Yes.
Trustee Schmidt?
No.
Trustee Muhammad?
Yes.
Trustee Basquette?
No.
Trustee Carahero?
Yes.
President Feaster?
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you.
Trustee Dupree?
Continue discussion.
Yep. So I just want to acknowledge what Trustee Basquette said. I understand that we did get this information ahead of time and that we could have crafted questions and so on before we got to the board meeting. With that being said, the input that we received at the board meeting was not input that we received when we got this information. So, the idea of being able to separate things and do a more staggered approach, and honestly, and I apologize for this, it never popped into my head until I'm sitting in the room with the people who are greatly affected by this. And that's just me being honest. They said that it would not stop the planned conversations, meaning she'll still have the meetings with the community, still have the budget talks, still have the information to pull in. It will only give us time to get more input, which has been requested of us. It doesn't change the fact that, yeah, the 25 is the 25. That's not going to go away. It still gives us that amount of time to get input on things we can do and get more information. That's all I really wanted to say about that. So,
Any additional discussion, Trustee Schmidt?
So did we have an original motion and then it was amended, or are we back to the original motion?
The original motion was to amend the
Okay.
resolution to only send out notice to the ASCSA unit. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that is the only motion on the floor.
So I will move to accept the resolution as written.
Okay.
We already have a motion on the floor. We have to vote on.
We have to vote on the amendment, on the motion on the floor first, don't we?
We just voted.
We have to vote on Ernesto's resolution.
Yeah, we already.
We
approved.
already voted on the amendment.
Yeah. So now we're motioning to approve.
yes, we just motion to approve this. Right
There was no, let me clarify. There was, the only motion on the floor is the motion that Trustee Carahero made, which is the motion to amend the resolution that we have to only call for notice to go out to the ASCSA unit.
Which I read.
Yes.
Yes.
So there is no other motion on the floor. There was no motion that was amended, no friendly amendment, nothing else. That is the only motion on the floor.
Correct.
And it didn't pass.
But
We
we
haven't
did
voted on
But
it
we're
yet.
trying to vote on it now. We're trying
Wait
to
a
vote
minute.
on it now.
Let's back up a minute.
Okay, I'm having.
We called the question, and then we voted. And then didn't we vote again on the amendment to accept it?
No.
We're
stopped.
doing it right now.
Okay. I'd like to call to question.
No, don't say that.
Don't say
Don't
that.
say that.
Just vote on the amended version right now.
Any more, any more
See the vote.
discussion?
There's no more discussion.
I'm just not sure what other clarifications need to be
We don't.
made.
We
We've been
just have to
discussing
have
it
the
for an
vote.
hour.
We don't. Any more discussion?
No.
All right, then now we can vote on Trustee Carahero's motion that is on the floor, which is to, which is, Ms. Ozinski, please.
Yes,
State.
I'm reading the motion that trustees are being asked to vote on now. The Ann Arbor Public Schools Board of Education authorizes and delegates power to the superintendent and, as deemed appropriate by the superintendent district administration, to send notice of layoff to those in the ASCSA bargaining unit in accordance with board policies and administrative regulations, including Board Policy 4830 and Administrative Regulation 4830.R.01, and relevant provisions of the collective bargaining agreement in order to address the budget shortfall. And we are voting now.
I'm sorry. Attorney Comsa has a word to add.
Just add "and collective bargaining agreement" to that.
Provisions
Of board policies and regulations and the
and
collective
relevant
bargaining.
provisions of the collective bargaining
Yes.
agreement. Yes, that is in there. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
And strike the last few words is what you're saying.
In order to address so take that out.
Mr. Thompson?
Take out the admin regs, because this is a group, the admin regs and the board policy only applies to certificated staff.
Okay, gotcha.
The other groups have a collective bargaining agreement that have those deadlines in there.
In accordance with
The-
provisions of the collective bargaining agreement.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So now, Ms. Ozinski, may we have a roll call?
Trustee Dupree.
Yes.
Trustee Gaynor.
Yes.
Trustee Schmidt.
No.
Trustee Muhammad.
Yes.
Trustee Basquette.
No.
Trustee Carahero.
Yes.
President Feaster.
No,
Motion carries.
thank you. All right, moving down to agenda item number 8, item for agenda planning. Trustees, are there any items for agenda planning?
I think we voted twice for amendments. We voted the first.
Hearing none? Okay.
It was confusing.
Hearing none? Moving down to,
Should we take a break?
if you all could please let us finish on your way out. And
We don't have
thank
anything
you.
else to do.
Got one more thing to do. Now we're at items from the board. Trustees, are there any items from the board? Trustee Gaynor.
I just want to say, what a delight it was to greet all of the fourth graders and their teachers and chaperones who came to the Ann Arbor Symphony Orchestra concert. I believe that was just what, yesterday?
Yes.
Morning?
Yes.
So, Tuesday morning, right. Thank you. It was wonderful. I missed teaching those fourth graders.
Yesterday. Thank you, Trustee Gator. Any other item from the board? Okay, hearing none, we are down to motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Is there support?
Second.
Okay, all in favor by voice vote say yes.
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 Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.